All right, Mr. Yanez has tried to sign in about 6 times. I'm not sure what's going on with him. Oh, well, let's see if he's made it this time. All right, Mr. Yanez has tried to sign in about 6 times. I'm not sure what's going on with him. Oh, well, let's see if he's made it this time.
And Judge and Lachey, I sent y'all, I just emailed y'all a copy of the docket. I thought it was attached to the Zoom invite, but I guess it wasn't. I apologize for that.
Okay, and
Yanez is on.
right. And on the Zoom invite, was that sent from my account as they usually are? Or from the 218 Zoom account or the account that's usually sent? The reason I asked, Ms. Riley, is I could not start the meeting this morning because it did not appear as a meeting that was scheduled on my account. And at 8:58, while I was on the phone going through the voicemail log or system trying to get in touch with y'all, suddenly it popped up as a meeting on my account. But it had given me a reminder that said, you've got this meeting going in 10 minutes. And I was on the phone with Dickie Jackson trying to get it going and I couldn't find it. So I just.
I don't know. I thought I had set it up that way. I set it up back in April, the day after.
All right,
April 14th. I don't know.
I mean, and I don't know why it would, unless you went in at 8:58 and did something to change it, then it must be a Zoom issue, but I don't.
I signed in at 8:58. I didn't go into the actual Zoom account. So I don't know.
But I'm the host, so yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay. What do we have to hear this morning? It's a real estate case.
Good morning, Your Honor. Tony Diaz here for the plaintiffs, Esmeralda Balderas and Simon Elizar. They're both also present in their room, and their call letters are iPad. Their speaker is off.
Okay.
We're going to be discussing today issues involving the TRO or TI request that we've made that's been stymied basically because of the situation with COVID involving a ranch there in Frio, Texas.
All right, so Simon Salazar and Esmeralda Balderas are your clients, okay?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, and on the other side?
Yeah, hello, Judge. How are you? This is Ed Cano. And Your Honor, there are multiple defendants, an entire family, in fact, of heirs, but I represent currently 8. And I represent Rene Rodriguez, Jose Maria Rodriguez, Alejandro Rodriguez, Luz Rodriguez, Manuel Rodriguez, George Rodriguez. I represented Ruperto Rodriguez, Judge, but he was the last. What you'll hear in this case is Mr. Ruperto Rodriguez was the last surviving sibling of the 13 brothers and sisters who were shareholders of the subject corporation. And I also, he's passed away.
Hold on just a second, sir. Let me get back to Zoom. Go ahead.
Anyhow, so Mr. Roberto Rodriguez recently passed. And so I don't think a probate estate has been opened for him. So he's a named defendant, but he's now passed. And then I represent Rodriguez Brothers Incorporated.
All right, and can anyone shoot me a copy, post in chat, a copy of the pleadings?
Judge, just here for
or whatever I need to look at. I'm sorry.
This is Ed Cano, Judge. We denial, so the primary pleadings, I think, would be the plaintiff's pleadings in this case. And I think to have I don't know if Mr. Diaz is going to be able to do that. If not, we can do that for you.
I'm working on that for you, Your Honor, if I can get it over there as soon as I get this.
And who is Carlos Yanez?
Carlos Yanez is going to be a witness, Your Honor, for the plaintiffs. I mean, we may or may not need him, but I wanted to have him available just in case.
All right, because that's about 7 times now he's tried to sign in. And I'm not sure what's happening.
Okay, let me find what the court was asking for, and I'll try to provide that to you. Okay, oops, it did it twice.
Judge, while he's
Yes, sir.
working on that, can I just comment on something further that might be
Yes.
important? So the U.S. Department of Agriculture was also a named defendant, and they were served in this case, I believe, and the case was removed and then remanded. But I think it was remanded because Mr. Diaz non-suited them or dismissed them. But I would just need to verify that, because they may have potential interest in today's hearing.
Your Honor, if I may address that.
Yes, sir.
I sent that thing over to you. I don't know if you've gotten it yet. If
Did
it
you
didn't,
post it
I'll
in
try
chat?
again. Yeah, I did, Your Honor.
No, I have not received. Not received any chat messages.
Let me try one more time. It says it's
Judge.
52% complete. On the issue, I'm sorry, counsel.
Yeah, let me just say that, Judge, I know he's about to respond to what I just said, but Judge, we have a number of exhibits. Would you want us to email that to you and to the court reporter? We have like a Dropbox for that purpose.
The Dropbox would be great if you'll just post a link in the chat to the Dropbox.
Post a link. Well, okay, let me see how I can do that. I'm going to call my secretary in here to see.
All right, just copy it from however you would email it and just drop it and post it in chat would be good.
Your Honor, to address the issue of the USDA, I had filed a lawsuit, them served. They removed the lawsuit only regarding them to federal court. They said they didn't really want to participate, so they were suited. And in open court, if I could ask the court, the plaintiffs would non-suit them here in this case, since they really they're not even here really, basically. They've been non-suited in the federal court, was sent back. Okay, I think it's posted, Judge, and it should be showing up in a minute. Still, it's really taxing my limited Wi-Fi. It's still spinning around, Judge. I don't know if you're able to see it.
No, it won't post until the whole thing is uploaded.
It's 10.28 megabytes, but it should be. Let me make sure my.
Now, Your Honor, you know what? I'm sorry to admit that we have had no experience on trying to post a link to the chat box. Would it be okay to send that to you by email and to the court reporter, together with counsel? We've already forwarded him this information already, but
Yes, sir, that's fine. But to do it, all you need to do is go to chat, and you could click on either to me or to everyone in the meeting.
okay.
And then where it
Yes.
says type message here, you can just cut and paste it, or copy
Cut
and
and
paste it. Copy and paste.
Copy and paste. Okay.
Okay, let me throw that one into drafts and then we'll get on your email. and make a copy.
All right,
I
we're
don't,
working on it.
Judge, it's still just spinning there, which is bad news because the other items that are, they're much more, they take up much more memory and bandwidth to get. I'm going to cancel this and try it one more time with your
Okay, or if
permission.
you want to try and email it, that's fine.
Oh, wait, hold on. It looks like,
I'm going to see if I can view document with LGS and Frio County.
Need this.
No, I need this. Better copy it from here.
try it again. It's still in the chat box and it won't let me delete it.
Okay.
Okay, it stopped. It looks like do you have it there, Your Honor? It should be posted for everyone.
Not yet.
Oh, this is horrible.
Oh, crap.
It's just the link, right?
It's just the link.
Just see if it'll copy. Go,
Hold
go.
on. I know, but I don't think I got the whole link, is what I'm saying. All right.
How do I get back to the chat? You want me to try to paste it on here?
I don't have the whole link. I'm missing
Okay.
it.
All right. Mhm.
Yeah, it's just not going to do this. Let me see if I can do this another way for the court. Your Honor, if I could get your email and then I'll send this to you and to opposing counsel. That might be a solution, as he suggested.
All right, hold on.
I'm so sorry, Judge.
I'm about to get the judge's email. You sit down.
No.
All right, I just posted it in chat. I'll remind folks that we're broadcasting live on the internet to a cast of several, or an audience of several.
Can you post what you've already, at least try what you've already done?
Just did a new one.
Really?
Yes.
What is it?
I don't know. Hold on.
And did everyone get the email?
Here, let me check in with my thing. Here, let me just go with that.
Okay, well, let's see if I can, are you still going under the original petition? Is there a new petition? I'm
The
sorry.
second amendment petition I just emailed you, Your Honor, is the second amendment petition.
Mhm. Okay. Wi-Fi or cellular?
You received that email, Your Honor?
Not yet.
Oh, Lord. Couldn't send it.
Okay. When was the second amended petition filed? Roughly.
Let me see.
I don't think-
Where's your chat? Where's your chat?
Right there. There. Right here. Chat.
Tap here. Right
Okay,
here,
one.
right? Yeah,
Send it.
this one.
Yeah. Why don't you email it to the judge anyway? Here, hold on. Can you send the judge, do you have this second amended petition? Send it to him at 81-218.
Right.
The text courts.
Dot.
Textcourts.gov.
Okay, and I muted y'all again. You're going out over the internet. Please don't give everybody's email addresses out over the internet.
Judge, we're gonna, we've put that Dropbox on the chat thing, so hopefully you've got that now. And
Yes, I have. I'm getting it open right now.
the other thing, Judge, is we're going to try to forward you our. I think we have a copy of that second amended petition, and we can just maybe just email that to you. And my secretary's going to have to go back and forth to her office and back. I'm in a conference room with 4 of my clients.
Okay.
And as far as the date of that pleading, there's a second amended petition. Looks like there's a verification signed on May 1st, 2020.
All right, and I'll try and look at that in just a moment. I'm downloading the exhibits right now. All right, let me check my email. Yeah, and it may be an email issue, but 9:05 is still the last email I've received from anyone. All right, and what would this, I'm opening up I'm gonna create a folder so I can keep hold of things. What would, has this traditionally been the Rodriguez Ranch, or what is the name of the piece of property, or does it have one?
Yes, Your Honor. This was a ranch that was originally owned by Manuel and Benigna Rodriguez. They had 13 kids. And so back in 1967, the way they decided to manage this property was to
Okay,
create.
and that's fine. I just wanted to know what to name the folder.
Oh, okay.
Judge, may it please the court, Your Honor. The ranch is called Jesus Maria y Jose, the Holy Family Ranch. And it's on page 1 of 24 pages on our pleadings.
Well, we disagree with.
I
the
don't know
name of
what's
the
going on here with this, though.
Okay. All right, I'm just trying to, I will stick with Rodriguez Ranch for the motion. For the moment, I have downloaded 12 items. Actually, one of them's I've downloaded 12 items from the Dropbox.
Did you send that to the judge? Email, yeah. I'm sorry, Your Honor, we did email that petition to you, so you should have it by now, the second amended.
And here it comes, this. Mr. Diaz, did you have other exhibits?
I have a whole bunch, Judge,
Okay,
and I'm trying to figure out, I don't know how to use that Dropbox. And what I had anticipated doing and what I've done in the past is I share them on the screen as we go and prove them up, unless council agrees to just forego the prove-up process.
all
And
right, I
then
mean, that's fine. I always prefer to be able to look at them myself, but if that's how
Right.
you want to proceed.
So what
that's
happened was, Judge, I had filed them earlier on, and then I refiled them yesterday because last night I got some exhibits from council that I hadn't seen for the first time. And so I went ahead and filed those. So I can figure out a way. What I can do is share them with you and send them to you directly, like I just did this petition. And you could put it in a folder and keep them in order like that. That's typically what I do. Every court does it different, so I don't know.
Okay, and
What
give me
you
just a
prefer.
minute. All right, and you sent me a copy of the petition and all right, well, you've got sharepoint.com and that looks like a Dropbox kind of thing.
Yes,
All right, so
so I can load
if you
these.
wanted to, yeah, just
meetings
share
then.
everything, just give me a link, just post a link in chat or email it to whatever other documents you have.
I just have to find where they are. Okay.
Okay, and I already have a copy of that from Mr. Cano. So let me look at this while you're getting the other stuff. And you said, sir, that you just filed a general denial?
Yes, Your Honor, and so I believe what counsel is scheduled is his hearing on what he says is a TRO, or request for injunctive relief, a TI. And so that, just so you'll know, that with the second amended petition that I have, his request for relief is on page 13 and
Okay.
14.
Look at that. Let me just look this over. Okay, I think I've read over the original petition enough to get the gist of what the lawsuit is about. And Mr. Diaz, you're still getting the exhibits to me? You're muted, sir.
I apologize, Your Honor. I didn't realize I was on mute. I e-filed those last night when I got them when I got counsels. And so I have them in order, and I'm working right now on trying to grab them and send them to you
Okay.
on email so we can have them in a folder.
And who all do we need to have sworn in today?
On my side, Your Honor, I would like the plaintiffs to be sworn in, and also Mr. Yanez in the event that we do use.
All right. And Mr. Cano, do you have witnesses there?
Yes, Your Honor. I have 4 in my office. I believe there's a Consuela Agulio, Agulio,
Yes.
Angulo, I'm sorry. And then there should also be a Jose Rodriguez, but I understand that he may have had some trouble signing in, so he may not be online, but those would be 5 witnesses and that I know are online right now.
Okay, and who all is in your office?
Okay, so we have George Rodriguez, Rene Rodriguez, Alejandro Rodriguez, and Monica, what's Cavazos, sorry.
So George, Renee, Alejandro, and Monica Cavazos.
Yes, Judge. And Renee, Judge. I don't know if you said Renee or not. Renee
I meant
Rodriguez.
to. And
Consuelo Angulo. That's Angulo.
all right, let me ask Carlos Yanez to unmute and start your video.
Your Honor,
All right, sir, and are you able to start your video?
it does not want to go.
Okay. All right, then. Let me just swear in the people who are on the screen. That's Simon Salazar, Esmeralda Balderas, Carlos Yanez, and Consuelo Angulo. Would each of you, I'm going to ask you to unmute, and each of you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you may give in the matter now on trial will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Your Honor.
Okay, and all 4 of you said yes? You do?
Yes.
All right. Okay, then I'll mark all as sworn in. Thank you, and you can mute. And Mr. Diaz, do you want to get your witnesses, they're all at your office or conference room?
No, Your Honor. My witnesses are at their own locations.
Okay, so you don't have anyone to be sworn in right now?
Just Mr. Carlos Yanez.
Yes, he was sworn in.
Yes, that's it. And then my clients, Mr. Simon Elizondo Salazar and Esmeralda Balderas.
Okay, and I'm sorry, when I said Diaz, I meant Cano. I was looking down at your box and not at Mr. Cano's box. Mr. Box.
Apologize. Your Honor.
No, it's on me. Okay. Okay, Mr. Cano, I'm sorry. Do you have people to be sworn in?
Yes, Judge, there are 4 in my office, and that would be Rene Rodriguez, George Rodriguez, Monica Cavazos, and Alejandro Rodriguez.
All right, and can you turn your camera or have him come in front of the,
No, get together over there. Can you see him, Judge?
I sure can. All right,
Okay.
let me ask you, would you please raise your right hands? Each of you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you may give in the matter now on trial will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right, and let me ask, did all 4 of you take the oath? Yes?
Yes,
Yes.
we did.
Okay, all 4 took the oath. All right, thank you. You can put your hands down. All right, and so I guess let's get going. And Mr. Diaz, if your folks are you by yourself or?
I am by myself, Your Honor. It's 72% complete of what I'm sending you so far for the first 19 exhibits. My clients are at their home and the witness is at his home and I am in my second office.
Okay. All
And
right.
somehow, I don't know, I like to invoke the rule at one point here. So, because I don't know who these folks are that he hasn't identified them in the the request for disclosures. So I have
All right,
no
well,
idea who
before
they
we
are.
get that far, let me ask, Mr. Kano, do you have a PDF copies of all of Mr. Diaz's exhibits?
I have, I'm not sure they're PDF, Judge, but they're on my desktop in my office. And so if he talks about them, I'll know what he's talking about, but I may have to separate myself. I have a,
Okay, well,
Myself.
here's why I'm asking. If you, as a courtesy to me, if you could, or your staff could give me a Dropbox link to Mr. Diaz's, because he said he's 62% through the first exhibit of 19, and I've got a juvenile board meeting at 1 o'clock.
93%.
Okay, but I have a juvenile board meeting at 1 o'clock.
It's gonna take. 'cause we didn't-
okay, she's working on it, Judge.
Okay,
Judge, I know that Mr. Diaz is busy trying to get you something, and
and I'm gonna ask him to knock off on that. I mean, we don't have time to wait for that. I'll either look at it on the screen, or if Mr. Kano's office can get it to me, I'd appreciate it. So let's go ahead and get started.
yes, Judge, let
Let me ask, are any of your witnesses, are they all parties, non-parties?
well, they kind of are, they're, okay, so 3 of the 4 that are in my office have filed an answer. Monica Cavazos and Consuelo Angulo, who's they are heirs of the 13 brothers and sisters. Mr. Diaz has filed a case against all heirs, so essentially they're all parties, Judge. They all have a potential interest.
All right, so
The
Mr.
only
Diaz,
one,
are you trying to exclude anyone under the rule out of Mr. Kano's?
Well,
witness?
if they're parties, I'm not trying to exclude them, but if they're non-parties, yeah.
Okay, well, I'll find Mr. Kano's minutes showing that they're actual or they're current or putative defendants. And if we're trying to get a state resolved, it may be necessary, it sounds like, to have them all made parties if they're not parties yet. So,
yeah. Well, yeah, under his petition, Judge, he sued all the
Okay.
heirs of this
all
family.
right, let's
There's
move
a
on
car-
from that. And let me ask Mr. Diaz, what do you need to show? And first of all, you're asking to have basically everyone except your clients excluded from the ranch.
I'll not, basically, yes.
Okay. All right. And what do you have to show to have that happen?
Judge, I have to show that the ranch has been maintained for more than 25 years and possessed exclusively by my clients, and the fact that the other folks are not heirs. They claim to be heirs, but I have the documentation that proves that they don't have a legitimate claim. So what this case is turning into, Judge, it's a case about land, and my dear esteemed colleague has turned it into a case about cattle because they think that there's money in the cattle, where my client's interest is the protection, safety, and health and welfare of those animals. And so they're asking the court to allow them to continue managing the ranch the way they were, continue culling the herd as needed, continue fixing the fences, continue doing, making sure the water sources are kept well, and to do that without the threats of death and violence that they've been facing and the lockouts.
All right, Mr. Kano, what are you hoping to show, or to show that Mr. Diaz has failed to show?
Well, first of all, Judge, there are 2 people living at the ranch who had been living there before this lawsuit was filed. So this is an injunction case. And so I don't believe that under the circumstances that the court should maintain the status quo as to the property. We don't even know who owns the property because the last title owner is this corporation. So what you're going to hear all day is evidence that Mr. Salazar, whose wife passed away, she was one of the 13, is claiming some kind of title through his deceased wife And really, this is a suit for adverse possession. I think the evidence will show that there is no such claim at this time. Even if there is, that needs to be resolved at trial. What we were hoping to do is just have the court issue orders that makes everybody behave. And that land is overgrown with cattle. Some of it needs to be sold and money put in the registry of the court until we figure out who owns what.
Some of the
And
land
so-
or some of the cattle?
Oh, just the cattle, Judge.
Okay.
Just the cattle. So we have some. So I just, I mean, I think what he wants you to do is I think what I'm hearing now is he wants you to evict two people, one of whom has lived there for 30 years and the other one has lived on the property for 6 years. And so I just don't think this is an appropriate time to do all that, because then we'd have to go through the whole title issue. And now, actually, we were here on the same hearing back in August, Judge. If you look at the rest of what he's talking about here, what he wants, it's like, okay, there's no problem. There's nothing wrong with it in a mutual order to make people behave. But the problem is that I think that there's a dispute over whether the cattle on the ranch are owned by the corporation or whether they're owned by Mr. Salazar. So I think that what we can do is just agree that maybe have some testimony as to what portions of that cattle need to be culled and sold and put the money in the registry for the purposes of maintaining not only the ranch, but the herd until final trial. Now, we would agree that no one else should have, maintaining the status quo would mean that nobody else would be able to move out into the property. But again, Judge, the title to this entire ranch is last held in this corporation.
And the corporation, and do you agree with Mr. Diaz that it's been defunct for nearly 30 years?
The I'm not sure how long it's been defunct, but it was forfeited due to failure to pay franchise taxes, Judge. And so I think under the Texas Corporation Act, it's possible that corporation can be reinstated. That's another thing that I think needs to be maybe resolved at trial as to what's going to happen with the corporation assets, because these 13 brothers and sisters were all shareholders, equal shareholders into this corporation. And I think Mr. Diaz's client is claiming under his wife's interest as a shareholder, but she never got a deed from the corporation, Judge. No one has. And so I think until we figure out at final trial who owns this property, I think what we're dealing with is just really trying to maintain the peace, okay, which is important, maintain the property, and that's really what we should be doing. And I don't think it would be right to kick anybody out right now who's already there, who's already been there. I'm not saying that we're not agreeing that's an established right that they would have at the time of trial. That all that depends on the whole litigated issue, adverse possession, and even if he has a right to claim it against the corporation and that kind of thing. So Mr. Diaz and I actually, the last time this same hearing was set in August, before it was removed to federal court, we had actually made an agreement on an elaborate, we had an agreement that we announced on an elaborate way to keep the peace and do what I'm talking about. But where we got stuck was that his client wanted, if there was cattle sold, he wanted to control all the money. And I was saying it should go in the registry of the court and the joint bank account. And so that we could, so there's some transparency. We didn't feel it was right for any one party to have complete control of any proceeds from which would be needed to maintain the ranch, for example, and the cattle, and so, and I thought that was the only disputed issue that we had to proceed in front of the court with. But I think for whatever circumstances change, Mr. Diaz's clients feels now that they need a whole day hearing on this thing. So, but anyway, but if you look at his pleadings, Judge, there's a very limited amount of what they're asking for. And I think that I don't think it's disputed about what I'm saying about two people living on the ranch. So if you can just, with that undisputed testimony, you can just resolve it, the status quo be maintained, and that you're not going to be kicking anybody out right now, but you're going to maintain the peace. And maybe we should hear testimony on what needs to be done with this overgrown and overpopulated livestock on this property. And there's also, Judge, you should also know that, and I don't think this is disputed. I'm trying to cut to the chase. Honestly, I'm not trying to, so there's also 3 deed of trust liens by the U.S. Department of Agriculture on this property, and I've sent those to Mr. Diaz. And so, under the deed of trust, so there's notes out there that we don't even have a copy of, and this deed of trust gives a lien on the property together with any personal property that might come from that land. So
A lien to who?
this would, okay. There's 3 liens, Judge, from the Rodriguez brothers to the USDA.
And it's the corporation,
Yes.
and it's never been paid off?
Well, we don't know what the status is, Judge, of that. No, we don't. I'm pretty sure. I don't. I believe that there is money owed on these liens, Judge, and which is one of the reasons that I think Mr. Diaz included the USDA, because they had a potential interest in. So one of the big things that we were trying to wrestle with here in this case is, before we get into who gets what, is we got this gorilla in the room with these 3 deed of trust liens. Okay. And I know that with regard to my deceased client, Mr. Roberto, that there was money coming out of his Social Security check to pay those loans off, and maybe others in this case. So at the current time, and I will tell you, Judge, Mr. Diaz and I both have tried to get information about those notes and where they stand, or whether they're barred by limitations and that kind of thing, from the U.S., but we just haven't been able to get anywhere with that. And so that probably needs to be done by maybe some subpoena thing. And if they've been served, we may be looking at maybe a default to release those liens, but that hasn't been asked for yet in this case. So I just think you kind of need, that's another reason that we can't really decide.
Let me ask Mr. Diaz to go to page 13 of his second amended petition.
Mm-hmm.
I'm there, Your Honor.
Okay. So are you trying to exclude, Mr. Diaz, anyone who was residing on the ranch as of the date of when this lawsuit was filed, or just keeping more people from going out there?
Well, actually, Judge, both. The idea that they've been living there for 30 years or 6 years is hotly contested. They came on board to the property right at the time of the death of Modesta. They moved in the vehicles that you can see in the affidavit. They moved into homes, and they began trying to live there. And I mean, you're going to hear evidence that they even went and switched the tax payment. So they paid like $100 in taxes.
Yeah, and I know everybody always thinks that magically gives them.
I know, I understand that. So that's what we're asking for, Judge. We're asking to remove them. There's two claims we're making. One is the claim based upon the transfer of title to the plaintiffs that are recorded, deed of record, and the inability for the corporation to act because they are defunct, and the abandonment of the USDA's lien. The second one is the fact that the pleadings are basically elucidating in the portion that states that the plaintiffs, in particular, Mr. Salazar, has been working that ranch for the better part of 30 years. And he's done everything. He's maintenanced everything, all those cattle, he's produced everything. And then all of a sudden, right before the death of Modesta, when this all started, filing of the motion of the lawsuit, these folks showed up to the ranch. If the court observed the ability for Mr. Salazar and Ms. Valderas to continue the management of the ranch without interference, the way that they have been doing for many years, I think we could work something out. But when we did that last time, at the very end of the negotiations, after we had our hearing, my colleague decided he thought it would be a better idea if he was on the account too. And I didn't want to do that. My clients don't want to do that. They've been managing the ranch for 30 plus years, and there's no need to change. We did offer to send him bank statements on a monthly basis for transparency. But here the key is to protect the plaintiffs because of the threats and the folks that are living on the
Okay, and that's no
property.
problem. If there's any evidence that there's been threats, probably even if there's not, I would grant an injunction telling everybody not to threaten each other. All right, and again,
We're okay
let me
with
just
that.
ask, what kind of money are we talking about has gone through the ranch accounts?
Well, I can tell you that the evidence is going to show you that my clients have been paying for all of the costs of the ranch over the past 30 years up until just recently.
All right, Mr. Diaz, let me tell you where I'm going with that. And I
Yeah.
understand your clients have done a lot, but maybe that is relevant. Maybe that's just the economic free rider problem. That when everybody is not forcibly compelled to join in bearing the burden, you will have some people who will refuse to bear their share of it. I can tell you, certainly in my brother-in-law's, my family doesn't have anything, but in my brother-in-law's family, I can show you property that it's eaten right down to the ground. There's cactus and there's mesquite, but you're not going to find a piece of grass more than 2 inches tall because all the relatives put their cows out there and they're all skinny and they're all wormy and the place.
That's what the plaintiffs are worried about, Judge. That is what the plaintiffs are
But
worried
my
about.
question, my thought is, okay, I mean, yeah, we need access to records. We take money from proceeds from the sale of the ranch, or if there's money that comes in from leasing it for dove or deer or something, and pay to have a bond posted?
There is no, the ranch has been taken care of with my client, but there has been no leasing, no doves on it. It's basically been, the basis has been the cattle. And so I guess I'm not really understanding your question, Judge. And
Well, just like when you
it
have
sounds like-
just like when you have an executor or a trustee, a guardian post a bond, so that if they're self-dealing.
I don't think we
bond
have a
company-
problem. I don't think we have a problem with posting bonds, Judge. There's no self-dealing here. There's not going to be. And it would be, it sounds like to me, you're talking about what they do with receivers. It would be way too expensive to do a receiver here because it's just too many people involved. But no, we wouldn't have a problem posting a bond, Judge.
Okay, and I don't know,
In fact, I think I've already made that offer to do.
and that's why I was asking, I don't know how much money has been run through the accounts every year and.
Well, it's
That's what we don't
basically.
Sorry.
It's basically, my client has been running an operation that basically you sell cattle as they produce. You take the money, you buy additional cattle, you buy feed, you pay the vet, you fix the fence, you fix the water. And that's what he's been doing,
Okay,
The
For
problem, Judge,
For
is the
over,
cattle
for over
he's-
25 years, he's been doing that.
The problem, Judge, is that he's been selling cattle that belong to the corporation that he now seems to want to claim. We dispute what Mr. Diaz is saying about him managing the ranch. And that's part of the problem is that, and we have records to that effect, Judge, if we need to get into that. But but the point is that at the end of the day, based on what we're here for, it's all about keeping the peace, maintaining the property. And what there's two people in my, on my side of the docket over here who have been doing a lot of work at the ranch who live there. So you want someone there anyhow, right? I mean, given the circumstances, and it's pretty simple. We either agree on we need to agree on what needs to be sold, and two, if there's hopefully we can agree on what the ranch needs to provide for the livestock. And if we can't, and if we agree, then that money needs to be put in the registry of the court, or it needs to be an account with people's names on it, or in escrow, and we can go on an as-needed basis if we cannot make an agreement as to how the proceeds should be shared. So and I don't think, I know, you asked Mr. Diaz a direct question, which is whether there were people living at the ranch at the time this case was filed, and I think his answer was yes. Mr. Rene Rodriguez has been there for 6 years, and Mr. Jose Rodriguez, my other client's been there for about 30. So I don't think it would be appropriate to under the undisputed facts, which is the fact that the Rodriguez Brothers Inc. still holds the last deed to this property.
They don't.
And there's a question as to what interest anybody else has, if any, and that we just make everybody behave, and that's what we should be doing now.
Right.
Your Honor, if I may.
No, just go ahead and, Mr. Diaz, I guess, call your first witness.
Your Honor, at this time, we call Esmeralda Balderas, the plaintiff.
All right, go ahead.
Can you hear me, Esmeralda?
I'm sorry, let me interrupt. Is your office, were they still going to try to get me a link with the plaintiff's exhibits?
Yes, my secretary's working on downloading it, but there's 30 exhibits, Judge, and she just sent me a text that she's still working on it. So
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
That's fine. Go ahead, Mr. Diaz, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm trying to make sure, just on housekeeping, if she can hear us.
I can hear you.
All right, you know that before we started this proceeding, Esmeralda, could you tell us your name, please? And spell the last name for the court reporter, please.
Okay, Esmeralda Rodriguez Balderas.
And spell the last name, please.
Balderas.
Now, Esmeralda, I want to start by asking you a series of questions, and I'm going to try to go fast because the judge needs to go, and I want to educate the judge with as much of the history as I can briefly. So I'm going to try to show some of these documents, and I want you to bear with me because the way that it works on these things, sometimes it gets a little complicated. Let's see if I can get what I'm trying to do here. Okay. Do you know when Benigna Reyes and Manuel Diaz Rodriguez were married?
Yes.
And Judge, this is the exhibit that we have as marked as Exhibit 1. Is everybody able to see that?
I don't see anything.
Okay, this is what I mean.
What is it?
That's one I'm trying to figure out how you want to do this. All of these items were produced to counsel in our response to his request for productions. And this particular item is the marriage certificate showing the marriage of Manuel and Benigna.
Yeah, I don't have.
Is anyone disputing that?
No.
He's disputing, well, okay, if he's not disputing that, then. Esmeralda, so do you know when they were married? Benigna Reyes and Manuel Reyes?
Yes.
And when were they married?
They were married on May 28th, 1923.
And who are they?
My grandparents.
So do you know when they did they acquire a ranch during your life?
Yes.
And what ranch did they acquire?
The ranch here in Frio County is one of them.
What, and what's the name of that ranch?
Well, Jesus, Maria y Jose is what they always said it, you know.
Do you know when they acquired the ranch?
Yes.
When was that?
December the 31st, 1951.
All right. And is the ranch described in the pleadings that you and your uncle have filed with the court?
Yes.
And is that the correct legal description of the property?
Yes, sir.
And is the diagram in the petition that you filed with this court showing the boundary of that property?
Yes, sir.
Now, when did Benigna Reyes die, your grandmother? When did she die?
June the 16th, 1956,
You remember where she passed away?
in Pearsall, Texas.
And how many children did she have when she passed away?
She had 13 children.
And were any of those children your parents?
Yes.
Which one was your parent?
Felipe de Jesus Rodriguez.
And do you know when Rodriguez Brothers Incorporated came to be, when they were incorporated?
Yes, sir.
When were they incorporated?
October the 5th, 1967.
Okay. And do you know if Manuel and after your grandmother passed away, do you know if Manuel and the heirs deeded their interest to the corporation?
Yes, sir.
Now, how do you know all this?
Because I had the corporation book. My aunt had it, and so it was all in the minutes.
And was that provided to opposing counsel?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so did the children transfer their interest to Rodriguez Brothers
Yes.
Incorporated?
Yes, they did.
And do you remember when that happened?
That was on December the 16th, 1967.
And
Well, that
so, go ahead, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Correct. That's fine. That was correct.
Okay, and so then, do you know how many acres in total were transferred?
Yes, sir.
How many?
523.05 acres.
Is that the total acreage of the ranch we're discussing here today in this litigation?
Yes, sir.
All right, and so did you did the corporation issue shares to the 13 siblings?
Yes, sir.
Now, off the top of your head, I mean, I know it's a lot of people, but can you name the 13 siblings that were in part of that corporation, including your father?
Yes.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
Judge, we can stipulate that the name of the 13 are outlined on the pleadings in this case.
All right, Judge. Okay, Esmond, we don't need to do that.
Okay.
Did they each obtain a share of the corporation?
Yes, sir.
What was their share?
25.38.
And when did they acquire those shares?
That happened December the 24th, 1968.
Okay, 25.38 shares. What are we talking about?
Can you explain that to us? The 25.38 shares? What was that? Esmond, I'm talking to you, Esmeralda.
Okay.
The 25.38 shares, can you explain that to us?
Well, I mean, my grandfather, and grandmother, they gave their part, like divided it, for their 13 children.
And
Hey,
object.
ma'am, what I mean is, okay, and I just, on your testimony, you said 25.3 shares of what? 25.3 shares of stock?
Yes, of stock for Rodriguez Brothers. Inc. That's what she's talking about, Judge.
Judge, we can stipulate that of the 13 brothers and sisters, I don't think they named Ruperto Rodriguez, but anyhow, I think Mr. Diaz outlined the deceased ones, but Ruperto was living when he filed the case, but they each got 25.38 shares of stock into Rodriguez Brothers Incorporated.
Okay,
And
so,
Rodriguez, mhm.
and whatever the number was, everybody's in agreement that it was equal for everyone, every sibling.
That's
Yes,
correct, Judge. That's what she's testifying to, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So when was that, Esmer? When did that occur?
December the 24th, 1968.
And then did Manuel Diaz die after that,
Yes,
your
sir.
grandfather? And when did he die?
Let's see. My grandfather. On February the 12th, 1969,
And where did he die?
at the Winter Garden Medical Center.
Where's that?
Oh, and I'm sorry, Pearsall, Texas.
Did he leave a will?
Yes, he did.
And in his will, did he make a disposition of his interest?
Objection, relevance, Judge. At the time of
Okay.
his death, he didn't own anything, so I don't know how that could be relevant.
All right. Mr. Diaz?
I don't know that that's been established, but it's okay. So then, can you tell us who Jose Maria Reyes Rodriguez is?
It's my uncle, one of the 13 children of
One
Benito.
of the 13 siblings. Can you tell us whether or not he transferred his shares from the corporate back into the corporation, his 25.38 interest?
Yes, sir.
Objection, hearsay.
Okay.
That calls for legal conclusion, hearsay, Judge.
All right,
Judge, it's in the corporate book in the minutes.
That,
all right.
that,
Go ahead.
that's just, what that means is totally different, Judge. I'm just saying she can't conclude what that means. I'm just saying it said, the records say what they do, but for her to say
Right.
that he transferred his interest calls for a legal conclusion. That's my objection.
I'll sustain the objection.
In the minutes, does it state that Jose Maria Reyes Rodriguez transferred his share back to Rodriguez Brothers?
Yes, sir.
Do you know why?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Well, he was
Judge,
running.
I'd like to take the witness on voir dire.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Ma'am, you're about to testify that you know what this, are you, first of all, were you ever the records custodian for Rodriguez Brothers Incorporated?
No, sir.
Okay, and so you're talking about corporate books and records and notations that were prepared long before you were even in Pearsall, right? Because you didn't really come, you're kind of recently involved with the family, isn't that correct?
I was here when this happened, sir. It was all over the news that what my uncle did with the chop shop. So I lived in Pearsall at this
Okay.
time.
Okay, but you were not present when your uncle was charged with a federal case, correct? A federal crime, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And so, but you were not involved with that transaction with the corporation, were you, ma'am?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll pass the witness, Judge. She doesn't have any personal knowledge.
I'll let her testify.
Speculation.
I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead, sir.
And so, do you remember what share he put back into the corporation?
Well, his share,
That assumes facts.
It's in,
Objection assumes facts.
All
Judge,
right, I'll let her testify to what her knowledge is. And is any of this disputed?
no.
Yes,
That's
it
the
is.
first time I've heard of it. It's in the minutes and it's in the charter shows the transfer. It's
Right,
been
and
undisputed.
I don't know that it makes a difference at a temporary injunction stage, but I'll let Mr. Diaz cross-examine or put on his own evidence if he thinks it does. Go ahead.
So I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. Did Jose Maria Reyes Rodriguez transfer his entire 25.39 interest in the back to the
Ye-
corporation? And
Yes,
when
sir.
did he do? And when did he do that?
That was on May the 12th, 1987.
And why did he do that?
Objection, speculation, Judge.
She was there,
Ruled-
Judge.
Okay, I overruled the objection. Go ahead.
And why did he do that?
Because the chop shop was found, he was on the ranch, and it was gonna jeopardize, the ranch.
So what is a
And-
chop shop? Do you know?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They were cars, mini cars being cut up and illegally sold and stolen, and they found all that on the ranch, all these cars.
Did he go to prison as a result of that?
No, more like probation, a lot of probation and jail time.
All right. Now, do you know when Rodriguez Brothers Incorporated forfeited its charter in Texas?
Yes, sir.
When did they forfeit their charter?
That was on February the 2nd, 1993.
Okay. Who is Manuela Rodriguez, Reyes Rodriguez?
That is my aunt, one of the 13.
And on our exhibit number 18, did she give her property or quit claim her property to anybody?
Yes, sir.
Who did she give it to?
Judge, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Diaz, if you have deeds, I
Yes.
think you need to introduce them.
So that's the problem with, I'm trying to figure out how I can do that simultaneously with the testimony in lieu of what's happening with this internet here.
Judge, my objection is as to the assuming facts and a legal conclusion. The question was, did she convey her property? It hasn't been established that it's her property. She could sign whatever I'm not concerned so much about the deed. It's this conclusion that she had something to convey. That's my objection.
Okay,
Well, it's been established that she's one of the 13 heirs and that she inherited 25.89% of the company. And
well, no. It's like a fraction, just 4%, 5%, but anyhow.
And
Okay,
it's a shares of stock. Shares of stock is not real property, Judge. That's part of the legal problem in this case. They're trying to make the leap and pretend that shares of stock equals an interest in real estate. I don't think they can make that jump.
Judge, she just testified that the corporation was defunct prior.
That doesn't
Okay, well, but that
establish.
doesn't- I'm
Yeah.
not sure what that means. I know it means that there's a mess, but I don't know that. I agree with Mr. Cano. I don't know what that means, that she owns the right to divide the land up or what.
Well, she's not dividing that. The testimony is that she just quit claimed her interest to Modesta Rodriguez.
All right, well.
If she has interest.
If she has interest, I will allow I'll overrule the objection, allow the testimony, but I'm not saying that it has any legal relevance. I'm not sure that what happened there. So go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Judge. And when was that deed recorded? Do you know?
Yes, sir.
What-
August the 8th, 2003.
All right. Now, who is Anita R. Rodriguez?
She is my aunt, and she's one of the 13 siblings.
And did she also quit claim her interest?
Yes, sir.
And who did she quit claim that?
Judge,
interest?
I'm sorry, Judge. I'm going to object to assuming facts about her interest. If we can I think you made
Okay.
a ruling.
I'll
If
give
her
you a running
interest
objection
is-
to that, sir, on whichever ones we have.
All right.
And
Thanks, Judge.
and again, I'm not I'll see, I'll let her testify that there was a deed that said it was quit claiming. I'm not saying that that had any legal effect. And let me back up and give me just a minute. I was trying to get a spreadsheet here. All right. Now, who was the first one? Who was the first
That was-
person that you said there was a,
Manuela, Judge. Are you talking
Manuela.
about the quit claim deed she talked about that I objected to? That was Manuela, and this second one they're trying to talk about is Anita.
So Manuela,
Rodriguez.
Manuela Reyes Rodriguez to Modesta Rodriguez Salazar. That's on file as quitclaiming any interest that she would have in the property. And that's on August 8th, 2003, she said.
oh, okay, and
I
hold
need
on.
to-
All right, sir. Give me a minute. I gotta get this. All right, hold on. All right. Give me a second. Okay, and the brother who conveyed his interest back to the corporation was,
Jose Maria Reyes Rodriguez
okay, he was
on
the
May
ninth
12th,
one.
1987.
Right. Okay, and I'm sorry, I erased what I had Maria Zaragoza was the first one who conveyed property away.
Manuela Rodriguez.
Manuela, and that's number 5.
On August 8, 2003,
And who did she
to Modesta.
attempt to Modesta?
Right. Modesta is Simon Elizondo Salazar's widow. He is the plaintiff.
Okay, and who's the next one?
Anita Rodriguez to Modesta Rodriguez on August 22nd, 2003.
All right. And Anita is number 10. Okay, and anyone else?
Did Modesta Reyes, I'm talking to the witness, Judge. Is there anybody else that has conveyed deeds? Yes. Should I pose it to the witness for evidence?
However you want to do it, sir.
Okay. Esmer, what was your mother's name?
Maria Eugenia Uvalle Rodriguez.
Did she pass away?
No, sir.
Okay. Did she gift her interest in the property to you?
Yes, sir.
When did she do that?
That was on November.
She was Felipe.
No, that's the mother. That's
What was
her-
that?
and she-
Felipe.
Felipe was husband to Maria Eugenia.
Her mother's still alive.
I'm trying to talk to the witness. and
Who's her mother's dad? Felipe,
You're-
right?
No, it's
His
just.
mic is on. Judge.
Esmeralda's dad. is
Okay,
the-
we got too many people talking at once.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry, Judge.
Your mic is on,
I-
Mr. Cano.
I'm
I'm sorry, Judge. Going back to Esmeralda, what was your mother's name again?
Maria Eugenia Uvalle Rodriguez.
And when did she pass away? I
So
mean,
my
when did she convey her interest to you?
November 28th, 2018.
How did she convey it to you?
A special warranty deed?
Okay, but let me ask, okay, so was it your mother or your father who was one of the heirs?
My father.
Okay, and your father was?
Yes, he passed away, sir.
Okay, but which one of the 13 was he?
Oh, Felipe de Jesus Rodriguez.
Felipe, okay.
Yes, sir.
And
And when he passed away, how did your mother acquire her interest?
Because she's married to him. She was married to him.
Did they probate that, a
He
will
left,
or,
he left the will, sir.
and then is that how she acquired the property? Interest.
Yes, sir.
Judge, can I take the witness on board Dyer on this one point?
yes,
Okay. Hello, Ms. Valderas. Your father was one of the 13. His name was Felipe de Jesus Rodriguez. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You said he had a will. Was that
Yes.
will ever probated in court? In other words, was it filed and was there ever a judge that ordered that was his last will and testament?
No, sir. Not,
Okay. And how long ago has it been more than 4 years that your father passed away?
he passed away November the 23rd in 2016.
Okay, so that's more than 4 years. All right.
but does that fall under the Texas Supreme Court's order staying stuff?
Yes, Judge.
know.
In other words, was your father married to anybody before your mother?
No, sir.
Did he have children with anybody else?
No, sir.
And so.
Okay, but this was a separate property, so who did it go to?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
It goes
separate
to- it goes
property,
to-
Judge. If he had anything, Judge, it would have been separate property. So which means to kids and a life estate to wife, a 1/3 life estate.
Right.
And that's her. So I've looked at this thing inside and out, Judge. So everything that ends up in that ends up with her, and I'm gonna show it. I think I'm getting ready to wrap up on showing that. So it's similar to what I was discussing with counsel. When Modesta passed away, she was married to the plaintiff, who is Mr. Simon Elizondo Salazar. They were married only once. They had no children. When she passed away, all of her interest by statute goes to Mr. Salazar. I didn't write the laws, Judge, but so what's ended up happening here is the shares from Felipe end up going to the daughter because the transfer to the mother and siblings goes to her.
Well, we don't know if there's other children, Judge. I mean, we're
Well,
assuming that
I'm
she,
getting ready.
I don't
I'm getting
know.
ready to work on that.
There's still no probate anyway. Anyhow,
Doesn't need to be a probate, but
Okay, well, ask how you're planning about that.
so when your father passed away, how many children were living?
Just myself.
Just you, right? And
Yes.
so when your mother when your mother gave you a special deed, how many children were living?
Just myself.
So now I don't know if you want to ask any more questions, counsel.
Mr. Kano?
no, that's it, Judge.
Okay, did you have siblings who predeceased your father?
Yes. My
Did they leave?
sister.
Okay, did she have any children?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
How
Two daughters.
many?
I raised. Yes.
Okay.
and do you have deeds from them?
We spoke about this matter and they did not want anything to do with it, and they were,
So answer the question. Did they give you a deed?
no, sir.
Okay, we can do that tomorrow if you want to. Do you think that they would be willing to do that with you tomorrow?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes.
All right. So for now, Judge, we've been able to establish that, how many children were there with mom and dad?
It was just two of us.
And so there's only one other sibling that we're dealing with in the estate that runs from Felipe?
Well, my sister passed away, but we're talking about her two daughters that I raised.
So what I'm trying to determine to help the judge and understand, your other sibling had two children, correct?
Yes, correct.
And are they still alive?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And when is Modesta Reyes Rodriguez still alive?
No, sir.
When did she pass away?
She passed away January the 12th, 2018.
And who was she married to?
Simón Elizondo Salazar,
Can you point to him so the judge can see who he is?
right here. That's my uncle.
He's your uncle?
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Salazar. Did they leave children? Did they have children?
No, sir.
How long were they married?
Just a little shy under 49 years or so.
Now, how long has, I mean, who has been, let me see. All right, Now, Esmeralda, it's been said that folks have been living on that ranch for over 30 years. Is that true?
That is not correct.
So how long, who's been taking care of the ranch since maybe for the last 30 years, let's say?
My uncle, Simón Salazar.
And who's been helping him?
Well, recently,
No, I'm talking about prior to anybody else moving onto that property.
okay. Well, just his cousin, that Victor Elizondo, that's been his, and my aunt Modesta would get out there and do work also. You know,
So who are the most recent folks that have moved on to the property?
well, let's see. That would be Joe. Well, it's just Jose
Hey,
Maria.
what's Joe's
All right, and
name?
I'm gonna say, Mr. Salazar, if Mr. Diaz wants you to testify, he can call you as a witness, but I'm gonna instruct you, do not be giving answers to Ms. Balderas. We need to have her testimony when she's testifying and your testimony when you're testifying. Go ahead, sir.
Sorry, Coach.
It's all right. I understand people aren't used to court proceedings, but I just want to get that shut off.
Thank you.
Okay, when you say Joe, I need you to say the entire name because the court is going to be looking at that, I think.
Okay.
So
that
who's-
would-
uh-huh.
Jose Maria Jr. is,
So Jose Maria Reyes Rodriguez is the gentleman you told us returned his shares to the corporation?
no, sir. Well, that's the senior. That's the senior, but the son is the one that lives there, and his is Jose Maria Leal Rodriguez. He's junior, and he lives there.
So he is a son or heir of Jose Maria Reyes Rodriguez,
Yes,
correct?
sir. Yes,
And
sir.
that's why they call him Jose Maria Jr.?
Yes, sir.
And when did he come onto the property?
He might have been on there already, maybe anywhere from 5 to 6 years.
Now, is that,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
pardon me, is that 5 to 6 years before the litigation here was filed?
Yes.
And what were you all actively trying to remove him from that property?
It's been a difficult, challenging, yes, situation. He's locked us out, and so that caused a lot of problems. And
What besides locking you out, did he do anything else?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. From threats to kill my uncle to this,
Judge, I'm going to ask, can I take the witness on board there? I don't think she's got any personal knowledge of this, Judge.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Balderas, you said that you were locked out. Is that something you personally experienced or something that was told to you?
it was told to me by
Okay.
Miss Yanez.
All right, it was told to you, and then these other things that you're talking about, that's not anything that happened to you or anything that you saw for yourself, isn't that correct? You were not there.
I was not there.
Okay, I'll pass, Judge. She has no personal knowledge.
Your Honor, at this time, I'll pass this witness.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, ma'am, please forgive me, but can you tell me how old you are?
49, sir.
And so what year were you born? What
1972.
and so when you were growing up, you lived in the household that was provided to you and your family by Simon Rodriguez and his deceased wife Modesta, isn't that correct?
Well, at one point, yes, sir.
Yes, and that's where you and your family lived in Pearsall for a while, and then I believe that you moved out of Frio County at some period of time, isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
Well, okay, so when was the first time that you left Frio County?
That would be in 89.
Okay, where did you go and for how long?
We moved to Granite Shoals, Texas.
And how long were you there, ma'am?
We were there
Beginning in 89.
yes, almost 30 years or so. We moved back when my aunt ended up being hospitalized, but we'd come back and
So,
forth.
all
throughout the
right,
year.
so beginning in 1989, where did you say you moved again? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Granite Shoals, Texas.
Is that up near Fort Worth?
No, it's in the hill country. It's by Marble Falls.
By Marble Falls. And you said that did you ever move anywhere else other than there?
No, well, myself, yes, but my family, it's my mother, my father, my sister, like they were there, but
No, I'm talking about you.
yes. I lived
Where did you go?
well, let's see, I lived in San Antonio at one
Mhm.
point. I did move to Dilley, Texas to take care of my grandparents. And then I lived in South Carolina for just like 6 months or so. And then I went back to Granite Shoals.
Okay. And ma'am, so beginning in 1989, up until the time that you said that you helped take care of your deceased aunt Modesta, who is Mr. Simon Salazar's deceased wife, roughly about 30 years went by, isn't that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so so you would not have, so that meant that you were not personally observing who was taking care of the ranch during that period of time. Isn't that true?
Well, we would come down quite often. And so we knew what my uncle was doing because we were always in communication. And my father knew that he had a special gift to be on that ranch and maintaining it and taking care. So
Did he get paid? Was he getting paid to do that, ma'am? Do you know?
No.
Are you
No.
sure?
He hauled water for 9 years. It was everything. It was a very difficult time.
Did he ever have a job? Did he ever work?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Where?
sir. Well, he was a master mechanic, and so he did do that also.
Okay. And ma'am, there was other people helping take care of the ranch as well. There was a Modesto Rodriguez, who was Modesta's brother. Isn't that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. There was Modesta Rodriguez, who was one of the 13. Both of them were one of the 13. Isn't that true?
Yes, that is true.
And then they're
Object to
along the
the
way.
extent, object to the extent that there's no date or timeline given in that question. And we're not disputing that at one time, way back when, that was happening.
Okay, and Mr. Diaz, what is your view of what the relevant timeline is?
About 25 to 30 years. That's the time that the ranch was being operated by the plaintiff, Mr. Simon.
All right, I'm just kind of ask you just to clarify when you're asking about whether when she was a child or later or what.
All right. Okay. Ms. Balderas, when you say that Modesta was helping out with running the ranch, That was up until the time that she passed away in 2019. Isn't that correct?
Can you repeat that again?
Modesta Rodriguez
Yes,
helped with the ranch up until close to the time that she passed away in 2019. Isn't that true?
2018, sir.
20, excuse me. Forgive me for that, 2018. But she, up until close to that time, she was helping run the ranch. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so, and Modesto Rodriguez, when did he pass away?
2015.
Okay, and up until close to the time of his death, he was helping with running the ranch at that time.
Well, he was bedridden. He had a aneurysm, and so my aunt and uncle cared for him for many years. So he was not able to do that.
Okay, and ma'am, when you say running the ranch, you're talking about you're talking about the livestock, taking care of the livestock that belong to the ranch. Isn't that true?
Well, that's
Objection,
one
Your
of the
Honor,
components.
the
I'm
question-
sorry.
if facts not,
It-
objection. The question assumes facts not into evidence and mischaracterizes the prior testimony.
It's
I'll overrule
cross-examination.
that
Judge.
objection. I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead, sir.
Ma'am, when you're talking about running the ranch, you're talking about your uncle tending to livestock that belong to the ranch, correct?
Well, they were abandoned, so no one else would do the job. No one else was around.
Okay, but my question, when you say they were, when you're saying they were abandoned, you're talking about ranch livestock. Isn't that true?
The cattle that were on the ranch, sir. That
Yeah,
was
the
left
cattle that were on the ranch, that belonged to the ranch, correct?
Again,
Well-
Judge, again, the objection is on the timeline.
Now, I'll sustain it.
Okay, well, so at what point in time, man, are you saying that the cattle were abandoned?
Well, there was no one left on the ranch. My Uncle Joe was sick. He also,
Well, man, nobody lived on the ranch though, right? I mean, even back when, at one point in time, that ranch just wasn't just a cattle ranch. There was crops and there was crops that were being grown as well. Isn't that true?
Again,
Yes.
Judge, the timeline, he needs to tell us when. That was probably in 1960 he's talking about.
All right, I'll sustain that objection.
Okay, man, are you aware that there was crops being grown at the ranch at any time?
yes, sir.
Okay, so when was the last time crops had been grown there?
Oh, that I'm not too sure. I'm not sure on the next. Or
Okay, well, at any time, did your uncle cultivate or grow any crops that had been?
Objection
there.
again, Judge. He's saying anytime.
I'll
And-
agree. I'll sustain it.
Okay, ma'am, did your uncle ever cultivate the property at the time that he said I mean, you said that he was running the ranch. What period of time are you talking about? You say, what period of time are you referring to?
well, like from 98 and up the whole time at 98.
Okay, well,
There was
let's talk about
no
from
water.
1998 up until now. Did your uncle ever cultivate the land by planting any crops?
By planting crops, I would say no.
Okay.
I mean, for a
Did
long,
he, did,
no water well. There was no water. He would have to haul in the water in his truck, for like 9 years. So
objection, non-responsive, Judge?
Judge, I think she's responding to his question.
I'll overrule the objection.
Ma'am, yeah, that might be true, ma'am, but there was, at this ranch, there was really no one living out there except for Jose. For a long time, it was Jose Maria Rodriguez. Isn't that true?
senior, yes, sir.
Yeah. You've never lived out there, did you?
I did. I was born, when I was a child, we lived in a mobile home out there.
How long were you there?
I'd say I must have been maybe by a couple, 2 or 3 years out there.
All right. And so, but that ranch only had an old house on it that Mr. Jose Maria Rodriguez lived in. And then there was another old house out there. There was 2 old homes out there, correct?
Objection again, Your Honor. When are we talking about?
Just
I don't know. Okay,
Yeah,
ma'am. Okay, since 1998, were there 2 old homes on the property?
Well, there was a yellow one that my uncle Manuel Zaragoza lived on. And then
Okay.
there was a white one that my grandpa lived in. And then the ranch house that exists now. Nothing else is there except for this brick ranch house.
Okay, and as far since 1998, with regard to the existing ranch house, is that the property that Jose Rodriguez lived in?
Yes, senior, yes.
Okay, and that's the house that his son, Jose Rodriguez Jr., and y'all call him Little Joe, that's the one he's been living in for a while, isn't that correct, before this case was filed?
Yes, about 5 or 6 years, yes.
Okay, and he moved in after his daddy died, didn't he? Did he not?
I'm not too sure the timeline of when my uncle passed,
Okay.
But it hasn't been that long, yeah.
Okay, and then after, you said that there was 2 other, since 1998, 2 other, I guess let's call them old homes that are no longer being occupied. Have those homes been torn down?
Yes, they're no longer there. They are no longer there, yes.
There is a mobile home out there that Renee Rodriguez has been living at for at least 6 years. Isn't that true, ma'am?
No, sir. The
What?
RV that he was living in is still, yes, he lived in the RV to begin with. The mobile home unit that he put in there, that was just recent.
Yeah, but it was there when this case was filed, though. Isn't that
Yes,
true?
sir. Yes,
All
sir.
right, and it was, so would you agree with me that at the time that this case has been filed, that 2 people have lived out on that property, and that would be Little Joe Rodriguez and also Renee Rodriguez?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. And Mr., your uncle, Simon Salazar, has never lived out on the property. Isn't that true?
No, he has lived on the property. Him
Wait,
and my,
when was the last time that he lived there?
well, it was, I don't recall exactly, but they lived in the White House that my grandpa lived in.
Okay, and how long has that house been uninhabitable? You said it's not there anymore.
Yes, sir, it is. Well, I'm not too sure on when that house was complete, destroyed or it tumbled down or whatever.
Has it been more than 5 years?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Has it been more than 10 years?
Yes. I think so.
Has it been more than 20 years?
No, sir.
Okay. Would you agree with me that since since your I guess it'd be your grandpa passed away, that there have been various people that have come and gone from that ranch over the years, either to stay for a little while or use it for whatever purposes? In other words, when more of the 13 were alive, there was more people out there at the ranch and helping with the ranch. Would that be accurate?
That other family lived there? I mean, that other.
Yeah. I mean, these 13 brothers and sisters started dying off, and there's nobody left now, right? None of the 13.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but when they were alive, there were more of them out there at the property helping out or using the ranch. Isn't that true?
Objection again, Your Honor. When was that? Most of these folks died quite a while ago. So we need what
It's
he's talking about for the purposes of this case.
I don't know if I
Please.
would need.
If we
I'm
can-
saying as they died off, Judge, whether there was more or less use. Just kind of a common sense question. I just don't know what her answer would be.
Well, like, we had family, my dad was the last one on there with my Uncle Joe. But well, even at that, my Uncle Joe moved away and had a business, gas station in another town. So did my Uncle Manuel.
No.
So, I mean, my Uncle Juan moved away to another town with his family. So when things got really hard because they couldn't get, like, they were experiencing all that discrimination and they couldn't get the loans to bring the ranch up and make it successful, like, people started moving on with their families and going elsewhere to find jobs and support their families. So.
And and when was that? Okay, you're talking about there was a lawsuit filed by the Rodriguez Brothers Incorporated, which was a discrimination case against the U.S. Department of Agriculture for really not, I think the allegation generally was that the government was not doing enough or was denying loans that they could help with the
Objection is
ranch.
to
or help-
relevance, Judge.
All right, Mr. Kano.
Well, I think she was, I just thought we might clarify what she means about discrimination, Judge. I didn't know how that would. And
Okay.
my intention in proceeding on this is to show that everybody was involved with this case. And this wasn't something that Mr. Salazar, they make it sound like he's a lone ranger out there, but there was some litigation by this corporation that was participated in by
But
the
what's the
various.
relevance? What,
Well, the
For sure.
relevance is that there was more people involved with taking care of this ranch other than Mr.
And I'll allow that. I mean, the relevance is you're suing on basically not squatters' rights, but you're suing, saying that you've excluded everyone else from the property.
but Judge, you know how long ago he's talking about? He's,
I'm about to ask her if he stops interrupting me, maybe
All right,
I
I'll-
can get to
I
it.
have a
Right.
right to object, Judge, and I just was concerned, honestly, I didn't see
Okay,
the
and
relevance.
I've overruled the objection. Go ahead.
Very well. Thank you, Judge.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Judge. So, ma'am, you're aware that the Rodriguez Brothers Incorporated, and I'm trying to find the date, was involved in a federal lawsuit against the United States government, claiming that there was that the federal government was denying help in a discriminatory way for money to run the ranch. Isn't that correct?
The lending practices, yes. Word.
And that was back in 2010. Isn't that true?
I'm not too sure about specific dates as far as,
Okay,
but it was a long drawn out.
that's right. And your uncle was not a party to that case. The party to that case was the Rodriguez Brothers Incorporated. Isn't that true, ma'am?
Yes, because I mean,
Okay.
my aunt was his wife and
Yeah,
yes.
and your aunt Modesta, his former wife, was pretty active in that case. Isn't that true?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and at one point in time, your aunt told you that because the government was not supplying funding to help run the ranch, that the cattle on the ranch needed to be sold. And I'm talking about in 2014. Wouldn't that be true?
I am not too, I can't say, 2014, but I mean, they did need to feed the livestock, they did need to pay taxes, they needed to fix the water well, things that were in order to maintain the cattle.
Right. And so what she told you is she was going to allow her husband, Mr. Simon Salazar, to sell cattle from the property to help raise money to take care of the ranch. Isn't that true, ma'am?
Objection, it would call for hearsay.
No, it's not hearsay. It wouldn't be hearsay. Under the dead man statute, there's corroborating evidence, and we're allowed to get that in. There'll be other evidence that corroborates the statement from other witnesses. So I'm asking her, or at least reserve your ruling on it until she gives an answer.
Okay, what is the answer, ma'am?
Okay, can you repeat the question, please? Because, yeah.
Okay, because of the need for money to take care of the ranch, your aunt, Simon's wife, told you that she was going to allow her husband to go sell cattle that belonged to the ranch to raise money. Isn't that true?
I
No
don't
objection.
recall having that kind of conversation. It's something they did together all the time. Like they,
All right,
she,
and then we've got her answer. She doesn't remember.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right. And ma'am, were you, I think recently, I want to say about 2 years ago, and I'm sorry, we're having to estimate, isn't it true that your uncle, Simon Salazar, called a family meeting so that everybody could get together and try to figure out how to run the ranch together?
no, sir.
Okay. And you got a deed from him, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you didn't talk about that in your direct examination. So what kind of deed did you get from your uncle?
I guess a warranty deed, like a gift in case.
In fact, ma'am, he gave you a deed to the whole ranch or part of the ranch property, did he not?
Well, whatever will be his part, whatever, he's entitled to through his wife. And that wasn't a secret. We shared that. Consuelo Angulo was around when he even told her that. Whatever.
Objection, non-responsive, Judge.
Sustained.
Ma'am, my question is, so Mr. Simon gave you a deed to 500 acres of the ranch, did he not, ma'am?
Well, it's whatever part he gets that is entitled to him. Let me see.
Well, hold on a second. Where's that deed? There it is. All right. He gave you a deed to 523.05 acres on April 17th. I don't have a year here, but do you acknowledge he signed okay, April 17th of 2020, about a year ago, he signed a quitclaim to you of the entire ranch, did he not, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
All right. And but he doesn't own the entire ranch, does he, ma'am?
No, sir. That's still pending.
So why would you accept a deed to the entire Rodriguez ranch from your uncle if he didn't own anything? If he didn't own it?
Well, for one, all of these threats that are happening that may become, a real concern. We're dealing with getting locked out. We're dealing with a lot of violence, and they're killing animals, his livestock. It's a lot. That's
okay. We've already established, ma'am, that you never saw that for yourself. Okay. Would you agree with that? You were not there, right? I mean, that's what you said before. Isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
All right. You filed this lawsuit together with your uncle because you want to take the rest of the family share of this property too, don't you?
Sir, I was told by Consuelo Angulo that not to get a home on that property because it may get partitioned, that more than likely it might get sold and then pay off what is owed. And so, you
And
know, they
what
want,
about,
a lot of them want to sell it. They do want to sell it, and we don't want that. We want to build a chapel like they had promised.
who's we, ma'am? Who's we want to build a chapel?
Well, my uncle and myself, and
Okay.
possibly the people that will not try to hurt us.
Okay, well, did you tell the rest of the family that you and your uncle are planning to take over the whole ranch and build a chapel on it?
Some know what we want to
Okay.
do.
All right. And
Um,
you've done nothing yourself to lock anybody out of the property, have you, ma'am?
No,
You've not fenced, and you nor your uncle have fenced off any part of this ranch. All the fences that are there are the fences that have been there forever. Isn't that correct?
yes,
So there's been no, and you have not told or informed any other shareholder or family member that you intend to try to establish a deed by squatters' rights isn't against them. Isn't that true?
Objection, Judge, that calls for a legal conclusion.
yeah,
What are squatters' rights? I don't know.
Okay, I'll overrule the objection. So asked about what she said.
Ma'am?
yes,
And you have not done any improvements on the property. Isn't that true? In other words, you have not gone onto the property and built anything on the property, correct?
correct, because things escalate and we have to call the police
Ma'am,
and sure, because
Objection, non-responsive, Judge.
All right. Ms. Balderas, sometimes the answer to a question is yes, but. And if the attorney is trying to keep you from getting the but in, let that go. If your attorney thinks that I need to hear whatever your rest of it would be, he will have an opportunity to ask that question of you.
thank you, Judge, sorry.
Yeah. All right, ma'am. So you have not done any improvements out at the ranch, correct? And what I mean by improvements, you haven't built anything like a house or anything like a barn or anything like that. Isn't that correct?
Yes, correct.
And your uncle has not done either. Isn't that correct?
What time frame are you referring to? They've built,
Anytime, ma'am. Anytime are you aware of any time that your uncle has gone into the property and built any improvements? Like let's say a building, a shed, or a barn?
they built the corrals. My aunt was still living and they had the corrals built.
I'm
And-
talking about your uncle, man. Your uncle. You say they.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, well, they did everything together. That's how they were. They were best
When you-
friends, 9 years. I mean, so,
And
but
you're
yes,
sa-
yes, we did the corrals. Yes, he did build the corrals.
Okay, and so and where did the money come from to build the corrals?
Objection calls for speculation.
She might know. She
Overruled.
seems to want to know everything else. I wouldn't know why she wouldn't know that, Judge.
Okay.
Okay,
Objection.
I've already overruled the
Sidebar, Judge.
objection. Let's move on.
Judge, I need to object to that sidebar and I need to.
Okay, and I've already redirected both of you by saying let's move on. I've already overruled the objection.
Okay, where did the money come from to build that stuff on the ranch, the corrals that you talked about, ma'am? Can you hear me?
I can hear you and I can't say 100%, but I'm sure it came, from whatever they would sell and then they'd put back into the ranch.
Okay, so when you say they would sell, you're talking about sell cattle from the ranch, correct? And
Yes.
put back into the ranch, okay.
Yeah.
And was there ever a ranch bank account that you're aware of?
Well, yeah,
In whose name?
I believe it's in both of their names. It was in Modesta and Simon Salazar. I believe it is.
was there ever a bank account in the name of Rodriguez Brothers Incorporated?
Objection on the timeline and speculation.
Sustained.
Okay,
There
since
was-
1990, I'm sorry, ma'am, since 1998, were you aware whether there was ever a bank account under the Rodriguez Brothers Incorporated?
No, sir.
Objection calls for speculation.
There was none.
Overruled.
Yeah.
Okay, was there a bank account in Rodriguez Brothers Incorporated since 1967 to 1998?
Same objection.
Overruled.
I can't give a for certain on the actual dates, but yes, there was a Rodriguez Brothers, corporation account. But I don't know, I don't know. when that
Ma'am,
is.
I'm almost done, but I'm going to go back to what did your uncle Simon ever build a fence? Or you said that he built the corral. You don't really know where the money came from exactly, but did he do anything else? Did he put up any new fences or anything that you know of?
Yes, my father got to help also build the fence off the highway. They also worked and they repaired a big piece of that.
Okay, I'm not talking about repairing a fence. I'm talking about putting up a new fence because
Oh,
earlier you, okay, yeah.
okay. Okay, well, they had to knock that one down completely and start and build a new one. I mean, because it
Okay.
was no
Well,
longer.
That kind of goes along with taking care of livestock, isn't it? But isn't there a lot of fence repairs that have to be made?
Yes, sir.
And one last thing, ma'am. We talked about this lawsuit. Were you aware that there was a $50,000 check made payable to either the corporation or to somebody from that lawsuit?
Yes, sir.
What happened to it?
Well, my uncle Modesto was deceased. It was in his name and Rodriguez Brothers. And so he was deceased. So they
I'm sorry?
Now, would you have any reason to doubt that on February 7th of 2017, that there was a check made payable to the Rodriguez brothers and Modesto Rodriguez in the amount of $50,000 that arose from this discrimination case that has been talked about?
It was, sir. It was. But because he was deceased, it had to be sent back and it was reissued for Modesto, my aunt.
Okay, so
Who is her,
So my-
can you clarify who, I need to clarify who her aunt is. She has several aunts.
she said Modesta, I think.
Yes.
So
Because she was
Modesta,
main plaintiff in that lawsuit. So by that time, when they won that and it was over, my uncle Modesto Rodriguez was no longer living. So
Okay.
they had to send the check back and get it reissued.
who got the check reissued, ma'am? Because it was made payable to Rodriguez Brothers Incorporated.
And
Who
My-
was involved?
who were involved in the lawsuit?
Yeah, who sent the check back and said, hey, you know what? Let's reissue it to Modesto Rodriguez because it was originally made payable to the Rodriguez brothers. Who did that?
Objection, Your Honor, mischaracterizes the evidence, and I'm not sure it's relevant.
No.
Her testimony,
Okay, I understand. Okay, I'll overrule that objection. I'm not taking any kind of judicial notice who the check was made payable to.
Oh, no.
All right, is this somebody's witness who just came in?
Yes,
Or
sir.
a party? I'm sorry?
Is that-
Joe Rodriguez.
Yeah, he's a party judge. He's my client that couldn't get on earlier.
Okay, it's Arturo?
I think it's Jose. Is that Little Joe?
Yeah.
Jose?
Yeah.
Jose? Okay. All right, go ahead.
At this. Where's that check? All right. Judge, at this time, we'd like to move for admission of defendants exhibit number 7, 6, and 7. Defendants exhibit number 6 is the check that the witness testified about for $50,000 dated February 2nd, 2017, made payable to the order of Rodriguez Brothers, Inc. and Modesto Rodriguez. Defendants exhibit number 7 is the warranty deed from Simon Salazar transferring 523.05 acres to this to Ms. Balderas.
And is it a warranty deed or a quitclaim deed?
I'm sorry, did I say warranty? It's a quitclaim deed, Judge. It's a quitclaim deed.
All right, Mr. Diaz.
I don't have any objections, except to the extent that that check, I don't think it's relevant. It doesn't show whether it was endorsed and cashed. And the testimony is that another check was issued to Simon Salazar's wife, Modesta. So I don't really see the relevance to the check. The deed, I don't have any objections to.
Hold on, I'll admit them both. And which one was the check?
6.
6. All right, go ahead, sir.
Your Honor, I would also like to offer into evidence defendants exhibit number 8. This is a public record of who's paid the property taxes on these 2 parcels of property
I
involved
have
in
no
this case.
objections. No objections, Judge.
All right, without objection. And what number is that? 8?
8.
8, okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
All right. So, ma'am, I don't know if you can see exhibit number 8. Have you ever paid any taxes on either one of these properties yourself?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you know if Mr. Simon Salazar, your uncle, has paid any property taxes?
Yes, sir.
How many, for what years?
For a lot of years.
Okay,
Judge,
ma'am.
what's the relevance of paying taxes on property? I mean,
All right.
I think everybody knows that Simon Salazar has been paying them for the past 30 years, but I don't understand the relevance of that.
Okay.
Well, first of all, Judge, that's contrary to exhibit 8, which shows that he paid 1 year in 2016, but there's
What's the
others who have
relevance?
paid. And the Rodriguez brothers.
Okay, I'll
Inc.
overrule the objection.
Okay.
I have it pulled up now.
All right. Man, would it surprise you to learn that under the public records of the tax office of Frio County, this shows that Mr. Simon Salazar shows that he paid for 2 years on 2015 and 2016, but that there were other people who also paid other than him. Would that surprise you?
No, I knew that Renee, because when we went to go try to pay the taxes, they told us they were already paid. So I knew
Okay.
that Renee had paid, and Rodrigo. I knew that, yeah.
All right. And we also have a payment made by the Rodriguez Brothers Incorporated as early as 2018. Do you understand what do you know who made that payment?
It's always been either my Aunt Modesta, my Tío Modesto, when he was alive. You know, they would put it, I don't know, that's what it goes by, under Rodriguez Brothers, even though it was out of charter, you know, back in, what, 93.
Okay. So are you telling me that if your uncle paid the Rodriguez Brothers Inc. taxes that he would have told the tax office, put this under the Rodriguez Brothers Inc. account rather than his own personal name?
Yeah, I think so. He's got we have all the tax records, everything that they paid. We have them.
right.
He has
I'll
them.
pass. I'll pass, Judge.
All right, Mr. Diaz?
Briefly, Ms. Valderas, let's talk about the condition of the cattle. Can you tell us, in your own words, generally, how the cattle are doing these days?
Well, with all this drought, it's been tough. It's been
Okay.
real tough. Yes, they're not, my uncle's having to put, extra hay out, a lot of, cattle cubes. It's hard to maintain because, they are very thin. Some of them are, but, we're trying. My cousin Carlos Yanez and his sons they go out there. They're the ones that feed the cattle also. And they put out quite a bit of hay. And he's got
So-
all of the records.
So, are you having, you and your uncle having any problems accessing the animals? What are some of the problems that you're aware of at the ranch at this time regarding the animals?
Judge, it's been asked and answered. She doesn't have any personal knowledge.
Okay, I'll let the witness answer as to whatever she has personal knowledge of.
Well, bales of hay get put out, and the plastic twine will get left on there.
And why, is that bad?
That is really bad. Yeah,
Why?
the cattle will eat it and the cattle can die.
And what else?
There's a water source that is locked, that it's not consistently being filled. It's for the little cattle. And then there's a middle-sized trough that needs to be manually filled, that is completely empty. So when
And
it's
what is the significance of having those things locked off and inaccessible to you?
I do not know, other
How does it
than,
affect- I mean, how does it affect the cows?
yeah, we need to get, there's a drought and those cattle need water. And we're having to manually get the buckets, 5-gallon buckets, and fill the water trough. And when it's not getting filled, we've asked.
Who's locking the water?
That would probably be Rene, because he is the one that switched, or they've got the water well switched over to his meter. So
When they switched over to the meter, did they do that legally?
they did that illegally.
Tell us how they did that.
Well, the way I found out about it,
Listen to this.
the way I firsthand learned about that was, well, when we went to Medina Electric, the supervisor told us that there was no meter reading. So they sent a technician out there to find out why there was no reading on Mr. Salazar's meter. And they saw that it had been taken off of his meter and put on to another. And so she said that was illegal. That was illegal what they had done. Now, putting the meter box on the same existing pole is not illegal, but what they did was illegal.
I'm going to object to a legal conclusion, Judge. It's hearsay.
All right, I'll sustain the objection.
And so what else have there been any other incidences of locking gates or water?
There is still, the corrals are locked up. They've got, there's 2 horses that are locked in there. So we cannot access the pens for my uncle to sell cattle, or we can't repair the pens because they're locked in there. They're the locked water source to manually fill the 2 water troughs. So that's the other thing that's locked. The front highway entrance got totally blocked and locked with another fence over the existing one. So there's only one entrance, and I think there should be for,
And how does that affect the cattle?
well, they'll die. They need their water source, that's for sure. And it's overgrazed. There's so many cattle on there. We need to get rid of some of those cattle. It's just not safe. There's too many.
You said that some of the cattle were eating twine off of the hay. How did that happen?
Yeah, look, this is just a temporary injunction. I'll take judicial notice that cows are stupid and they will eat trash bags that blow in, and that's something you're supposed to keep picked up, because they'll eat the twine and it stops up their intestines and they die.
And did you have any other issues with hay, bad hay or anything like that?
Yes, some of the quality of that hay is just not safe.
So
It's
what did you have to do?
Well, my uncle purchases a certain kind of hay, and so we can't control what other people are feeding their hay, where they're buying their hay. So the animals it's being put out there, like they put out a couple of bales of hay, and it was really poor quality, and so that has consequences. And I hope.
Okay, did a bull recently die?
Yes, sir.
What happened?
Well, he got a metal wire stuck in his hoof, and
Where did the wire come from?
there's a lot of debris in that area back there where little Jose Maria lives, and it's hard to say, but it could have been prevented if trash was picked up. And that was one of my uncle's really expensive and bulls that he breeds, and so he got a bacterial infection.
Objection, non-responsive, Judge.
Okay.
I will rule that objection, but I'll ask Mr. Diaz to move this along.
I passed the witness.
Okay, ma'am, have you ever received a deed from the Rodriguez Brothers, Inc. for any, at any time?
No.
Do you know if your uncle has ever received a deed from Rodriguez Brothers, Inc. at any time?
No.
Would you agree with me that the last record owner of the entire ranch is the Rodriguez Brothers, Inc., as far as the deed that's recorded in the county courthouse in Frio County?
I think so.
Yes.
I don't know what else.
And then as far as the property is concerned, you have not been locked out yourself, have you, ma'am?
I was told.
Okay, but you
and not to be given the key, and they cut the locks, and so we were not able to get on there.
I'm talking about since this case has started, everybody's got a way to get in and out now, right?
Oh, since the other hearing, yes.
Yes. Yeah, I'm
Able to
talking,
put
yeah.
on lock, and I have a key, and I am able to get on there now.
Okay, so none of the things that you're talking about have happened since this case got started. Isn't that true?
Oh, no. The other, some of these things are still going on. They're still,
Okay.
you know,
Okay,
preventing and doing things that are, you know, unacceptable.
well, I mean, the judge can, it would be okay for the judge, you'd be okay if the judge said everybody's got to behave, right? And make that applicable to everybody. You'd be all right with that, wouldn't you?
That would be wonderful.
Okay, you'd be all right if the judge would approve the sale of some of the cattle on the ranch, because as you say, it's been overpopulated. And as far as the money from that sale, would you be okay with that money being put in the courthouse bank account, which is called the registry of the court, so that we can have transparency over where the money goes? Would you be okay with that, ma'am?
I would be okay with whatever, you know,
You wouldn't think it would be fair, for example, if the judge says, okay, we got to get rid of some of these cows. It looks like y'all need some good hay. It looks like the ranch needs a fence to be fixed, and then let my clients keep it in their account, right? Sell cows and put the money in their bank account. You wouldn't like that, would you?
Objection. What's the relevance of that, Judge?
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. All right. And none of the as far as the water sources, we'll deal with that through another witness, but none of the cattle have died for lack of water. Isn't that true, ma'am?
we've had a lot, my uncle's had a lot of loss. There's been 13, I cannot say that this fact, that would be a true statement, because there's been 13 since January
What?
have died.
Okay,
So-
well, you don't know.
And small calves as well have died. So I can't say that, yeah.
So you don't know if it's because of the water or not. And you're making it sound like those are his cattle. Okay. Don't those cattle belong to the ranch? Isn't that where all this got started?
He's the one that's been, taking care of them, and my aunt
Okay.
and him were the ones doing that, watering them, feeding them.
Yeah. So in your opinion, because he's doing that, that makes those cows his.
They were abandoned. No one was around.
Okay.
So they
All right.
took charge, and they took care of that.
All right, I'll pass.
No, Judge, I just had a question on the exhibits that I didn't, I wanted to prove them up, but I wasn't able to get them over to you, and I didn't get a confirmation on the email.
All right, I've been able to download some exhibits.
I mean, I don't know if council wants to stipulate, I'll let him put anything he wants in, and I'll, because I think the court can figure it out, but I mean, I
Okay,
don't wanna
let
have
me
to-
go to my list. Some of them didn't work.
yeah, that's a problem.
So what are you trying to get admitted?
I have all of the exhibits that we just discussed. The death certificate of, the marriage certificate of Manuel and Benigna, the deed, how they acquired the property, the warranty deed from the 13 kids,
Oh, okay, so let me ask you,
the
Mr. Cano,
certificates
to
of
just
death.
discuss that and see, because I'm not even sure which ones I was unable to open. Some I was
Well,
unable.
what I could do, Judge, if it's
I'm going to
okay-
ask you, Mr. Cano, I need to give Ms. Cavazos a break. I need to take a brief break. We will come back at, it's called 11:45. I'm going to open up some breakout rooms, and I will put the two attorneys in there so that you can have a chance to discuss that. And we will start back up at 11, let's call it 11:50.
11:05 will do, Judge.
One question, Judge.
Yes, sir.
How far are you located from Pearsall? Where are you sitting right now?
Floresville.
I don't know if it would be possible to have the exhibits, the hard copies delivered to you, if that would be convenient.
No,
Because I don't-
I've got one or two were corrupted and I couldn't get them open, but the rest of them I have copies of. No, I'd much rather have them in an electronic copy. I have a large monitor here that's turned up vertically so that I can see the whole page
See.
at once. And even though it's far away because it's so much bigger than a regular page, I can still read it. So no, I'd much rather have just PDFs.
And
Again,
also
I
as a,
have.
as a guide for you, Judge, on the timeline, the pleadings, everything that was testified to is in the pleadings, so it would be easy for you to follow. I have some photographs of locks and things like that, but I'm gonna forego that because it's gonna take forever to get the pictures
Yeah.
to you.
If Mr. Diaz just tells me in the breakout room. what
Yes,
he
y'all
wants to
discuss
get
that
in,
there because I've got to return a call.
Very well.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
you.
I probably won't have a problem with it. All right, see you in the
Okay.
breakout room.
Let's see. Thank you.
Okay, I'm back. The attorneys are still in the breakout room, so we'll give them a moment.
Okay, Judge, good afternoon. Where's counsel?
You may still be in the breakout room.
Oh, he said he was going down the hall. I thought he would, I thought he said he'd come back here.
I just hit move to main session. I've never had that option before.
Huh.
Move to main session. No. All right, we'll give him a moment. Here he comes.
There he is.
All right, and I'm not even sure where we were. Was the witness being passed?
Yes, we
I-
passed the witness.
All right, Mr. Kano?
Judge, it's, I think I'm done, Judge. I'm past.
All right, and let me ask the witness, ma'am, was it your testimony that there was a water meter from some rural water company on the property
Get your brother in here. He needs to listen.
and that someone who moved onto the ranch switched it from cattle use to residential use? Or I didn't understand exactly what your testimony was about the water meter and the water. And you're muted.
He's using it for residential plus, it is filling a water trough, one water trough that is on a automated, it fills it automatically. But, you know, there is still a medium-sized water trough that is not being filled. And then it's a constant, the little water trough for the babies, that one is not consistently being filled. So we have to manually, well, I've done it myself, my cousins, the boys.
Okay, so,
Yes, it was.
and who are we talking about who moved on and things changed?
Okay, that would be Rene Rodriguez.
Okay, and
It was-
prior to when he moved on there, was the water meter there? And
Yes, sir. Under my Aunt Modesta and Simon Salazar, they have that opened, you
okay,
know,
and was the water filling up all the water troughs at that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and why isn't it filling up all the water troughs now?
I do not understand, other than maybe the bill is, you know.
No, but
they
what I
don't-
mean is, what has physically changed? Have pipes been removed? Why doesn't you said you've got one that waters automatically?
Oh, yes. Well, the water source is locked up with the lock, the one with the hose, that we would.
Okay,
manually
now I
hose.
understand. All right. Okay. Anything else for this witness?
No, Judge, thank you.
No, Judge.
On
All right, your next
housekeeping,
witness?
though, counsel and I have made an agreement stipulation on evidence, and I don't know when the
Okay.
court wants to address that.
Just let me know what you've agreed to admit.
I told him he can put all the stuff that he's showed me in, and he's agreeing to. Go ahead, counsel. Tell him what you're.
Okay, Judge, Mr. Diaz has 20 exhibits, 1 through 20, and I said I would not object to those. And I have, defendant's exhibit number 3, 3-1, 3-2, 3-3. And then we have 4, defendant's exhibit 4, defendant's exhibit 5. 6, 7, and 8 has already been admitted, but there's no objection to defendant's exhibit 9 or 10 and 11 of defendant's exhibit. So that's what we have, Judge.
I had some photographs, Judge, and I chose, you know, I think the picture's been drawn. I don't think I need those to bother you to send them over. So that would be sufficient for us, the first 20.
Okay, then without objection, those are admitted into evidence, and I'd ask Ms. Cavazos, how do you want that? Do you want PDFs? Do you want? Okay, she wants PDFs.
Yes, Judge. And email to Mel. To me.
Okay, if you'd email PDFs.
So I guess we can get her email thing on the chat thing.
Yes.
Okay.
And Judge, at this time, with your permission, I would like to call Simon Salazar, the plaintiff.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you hear me, Mr. Salazar?
Yes, sir.
Have you been able to hear the testimony?
Yes,
Do you understand what's going on in the proceedings?
yes.
Now, have you ever been in court before?
No.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about the background regarding you and the ranch? When did you first get to the ranch?
And I got there in 1998.
And why did you arrive to the ranch in '98?
Because my brother-in-law told me and my wife to take over. He couldn't.
And what's your brother-in-law's name?
Modesto Rodriguez.
All right. When you got there at the time you arrived, were there any cattle on the ranch?
Yes, very few.
How many do you remember being there, sir?
That I see was 10. And a bull.
And what was their condition?
Very poorly.
What do you mean by very poorly?
They were very skinny.
And were you married at the time?
Yes.
And who are you married to?
To my wife, Modesta Rodriguez Salazar.
Now, you heard the testimony of Esmeralda, and she said when you all were married, and she also said when unfortunately she passed away. How long were you married to her?
Pretty close to 49 years.
Congratulations to you, and I'm sorry for her loss. Do you did you all work the ranch from that point on in when you arrived in '98?
Yes, we worked the cattle. We made a deal between me and her. She was gonna go to Washington and fight the ranch. And I was supposed to take care of the cattle.
And during all that time, who helped you?
She did. And,
Anybody else?
Nothing Esmeralda, no? You did.
Okay, you can't talk. You can't talk to her. Remember what the judge said. This is a
Okay.
conversation between you and me, and your responses are going to go for the judge. If you don't remember, that's okay.
At that time was just me and her.
Okay, and what did you do? What were the types of things you did around the ranch when you arrived in '98?
I had to carry water for there's no wells around to get
How long
water.
Okay,
And so I carry water for about pretty close to 10 years.
okay. And so during the course of the year, when did you stop working on the ranch? Or did you stop working on the ranch?
No, I didn't stop working at the ranch.
Do you still work on the ranch?
Yes,
Now, how long have you been then on the ranch? Since 1989?
since 89 up to now, I've been buying hay and by Carlos is the one that takes the hay over there. And
He helps you now?
yeah.
So during the course of time that you've been on the ranch since 1989, were any of the brothers and sisters of your wife helping you?
No,
And why not?
they never went over there. Joe was living there for a while after I got there, me and my wife. And then he moved to San Antonio. He was too sick.
So is that what was happening to the family? They were getting sick and old?
Yeah,
Did any of them come and visit you?
No,
Did Esmeralda's father ever come to see you guys at the ranch?
yes.
And do you remember when that was roughly?
Oh, my God. Well, they started going there since early in 98. Because we built a fence right beside the highway, and he helped me.
Okay, and then after that,
And Mr. Diaz, I'm gonna interrupt.
yes, Judge.
Mr. Salazar, I know you know exactly who you're referring to, but it's sometimes hard for me and the attorneys to follow when you don't use names. So if you would try to work in the names of exactly who you're referring to, I'd appreciate it. All right, so who helped you on the ranch?
Sorry.
No problem. Just, I'm just
Now that
You
you,
know when you get the court reporter's email.
oh, shoot, no, don't go.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Diaz.
Okay, something happened there. Okay. During the course of the time from 1998, when you got to the ranch to now, have you purchased any animals?
I purchased 3 bulls.
And did those bulls breed?
Yes,
And how many cows are out the ranch right now?
right now it's pretty close to 200.
And is that acreage that they're on sufficient to maintain and keep that number of cows and bulls safely?
No, sir.
And what do you think is a safe level of the number in terms of the number of cows? What do you think it should be?
It should be about, should be 5 acres for cows, so maybe 60.
Now, whose cows are they?
They're mine.
And how long have they been yours?
Since I started back in 98,
And so who's been the one to care for all those animals?
me and my wife.
And do you know what you spend? What have you spent this year, for example?
This year I spent so far. This year so far in 4 months, I spent $7,756.02.
And what about the year before? Do you know that? I guess you have a log there. I don't know what you're looking at.
I object to hearsay, Judge.
All right. So,
All right, what are you alleging is hearsay?
His reference to how much was spent, he's obviously looking at records that are not in evidence.
what's his testimony, counsel? It's not yours.
I'll overrule the objection.
So do you know what you spent last year? Well, let me ask you this. Do you know what you spend roughly annually on an annual basis?
Annually basis, it's about, it depends on if the year is good, it rains, it's got a lot of grass, it changes to less. When it doesn't rain, it will raise a lot.
Okay, so what do you know what you spent last year? I'm just trying to get some kind of a baseline here.
In 2020, it was a pretty good year. I spent $6,192.20.
And you've already spent this year 7,000, you said?
Yes,
Why the disparity?
because of the drought,
Because of what?
because of the drought and too many cattle.
Okay. Have you lost any cattle recently in the last year or so?
Yeah, with this freeze, they came in, and further, I lost some older cows. They're supposed to be sold, but my corral was locked up.
And can you tell us who locked up the corral?
¿Cómo se llama?
All right, I can start, whatever, if you know the answer.
Yes, I know the guy, my nephew, but I don't remember the Luz Rodriguez.
And have they denied you, have you been denied access to the ranch in the past year?
Yeah, for about a year, they locked me out.
And did you receive any threats from anybody?
Yeah, I received threats from little Joe who wanted to kill me.
And what, did you believe him?
Yes. He's
And did he
capable.
say, did he tell you that he wanted to kill you?
Yes,
And when did all the animosity start up? Do you know?
animosity. I don't understand the word.
All the arguing?
Oh, after on the I guess past 3 years, I guess. On
And so how long has this lawsuit been going on?
lawsuit was put out in 98.
No, the lawsuit you're in right now.
Oh. I don't remember the date.
Okay. Why did you bring a lawsuit? In
Because
this case?
nobody went and help. Nobody has given us a dime. And after they moved in, they tried to take over everything and put me down, trash me out, not because I took care of that ranch. I took good care of it. Fixed the well, they took because there was an agriculture well. I took it out and put a submersible there.
And what are you asking the judge to help you do right now?
To help me to stop all these threats and for me to go in there and work in peace.
When you sell the cattle, where do you put the money typically?
I put it in an account, so I put it back into the ranch when I need it.
And what do you do with what do you mean you put it back into the ranch? What do you do?
Oh, buy hay, you need to be prepared because you never know when a drought is gonna get here. And you need to have some money saved up for that.
And who takes care of the health of the cows?
The health,
Yes. Yes.
oh, me and Carlos check the cows all the time.
Did you lose a bull recently?
Yes,
Did you name the bull?
it was number 4. I told him.
Bull number 4 died. What happened to bull number 4?
Bull number 4 got a wire in the hoods, and I didn't look at it in time until he was swelling. And I looked very well, went around him and saw the wire around, and we took it out.
And was there any veterinarians called or anything like that?
We tried to call him, but at that time that freeze came in, everybody was closed. And they
Do you
don't
know
want
where the wire came from?
around the ranch, it's got a lot of wires and stuff that is still laying over there.
Have you been trying to clean all that up?
Yes.
And why haven't you been able to?
I did for a long time. I got a lot of wire together over there, but those little pieces, I can't see them. We don't go around the ranch with the truck. And there's a lot of trash back there where little Joe lives.
Is that bad for the cattle?
Oh, yeah. It's very
Why?
bad.
Why?
They will, they eat plastic, they eat this, they will die.
And I heard Esmer say you've lost about 13 cattle. Is
Yes.
that correct? Yeah.
Yes.
And have you, are you all in a drought right now?
Yes,
Is it good to have locks on water sources?
no,
Is it good to have half empty buckets?
no.
Why not?
But the smaller calves can't reach over there where the water is because it's too low.
So what do you have to, are you doing anything to fix that? What do you do daily to make sure that that's,
We go check and we got some buckets out of the trough we put into the smaller calves for the small calves.
are you doing that manually?
Yes,
Who helps you?
Esmeralda and Carlos.
Okay, and is there anything else that you can think of that you would ask the judge in terms of helping you out on the ranch and get back to the way it was?
Yes, just to get those, it's hard to say, but get them out of there because they never learn. As I've talked to them several times in peace, and then they don't care.
Have you had to call the police?
Yes,
How many times?
well, 3 or 4 times.
I pass the witness, Judge.
All right, give me just a moment.
Mr. Diaz,
Yes, ma'am.
or Judge, can we have the witness be in front of the camera? I'm sorry, camera. A little more, so I can read his lips, because sometimes he trails off. Thank you.
Yes,
Esmer,
please do
you
that.
don't need to be in the
Give me
picture. Just
a
put him
moment.
in
I've
the
got to
picture.
sign some stuff.
Put him in the picture so she can see him. You don't need, there you go. That's better. There you go. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. All right. Mr. Reyes, Diaz, I'm sorry, are you still going ahead with your motion seeking to exclude everyone else on the basis of the notion of adverse possession?
He is asking that. Yes, Judge.
All right. And do you have any other witnesses at this hearing on adverse possession?
I have, well, it's going to be repetitive from Carlos Yanez. No, I don't.
Okay. I'm going to find that there has not been a demonstration of anything approaching the likelihood that the plaintiffs are going to prevail on their claim for adverse possession. And so we can dispute whether it's what the numbers are, what the percentages are, because of whether the interest in a defunct corporation is real property, personal property, some kind of quasi right to property that hasn't been reduced to being either or because it's still nebulous. But I can tell you that any temporary orders that I issue would include, of course, keep the peace. And and I don't know, Ms. Cano, I'm not going to prejudge it, but if unless the testimony from your client would show that he put that water meter or water well, whatever it is himself, or some other thing to show me that the water was not there before he moved onto the property, then the water is there for the cattle. And if he uses it too, that's fine. They're joint tenants or tenants in common, joint tenants, but the cattle would come first.
Yeah, Judge, he's paying the bill and I've
I
been
don't
out
care
there.
who's paying the bill. It was there for the cattle first. Okay. And
Yeah,
if
I
Mr.
understand that. I just want to
Okay.
let you know that I've been out there myself, and that tank operates like a bobber, like an electronic thing. So if it gets low enough, it automatically feeds into that at the bottom of that tank. So it's full. Both of them are full. And at the bottom of that tank, there's like a garden hose that feeds into where the calves go. That's what, and so, but that has to be locked because the animals run up next to it and it goes on. And so, but there hasn't been a situation where they've been without water, but I know I kind of feel like I'm testifying a little bit. I just want to assure you, Judge, that there's plenty of water for the animals out there. And because I've been out there myself before. I was out there, I guess, last September or August or something before the last hearing, because this came up, these same allegations came up.
I think with what he's saying now, I'm going to ask the court to admit the pictures that I have because they clearly show what's going on out there.
But that doesn't prove that they died without water. There was a freeze. It's overpopulated. We all agree that some of these cattle need to go, but the money needs to be put in the registry, Judge, because there's a dispute over whose cattle they are. And so, obviously we have a lot of contrary evidence than what Mr. Salazar is talking about. And that's why we couldn't eventually agree. It wouldn't make any sense for him to continue selling these cattle and then keeping the money in his account. Under my defendant's exhibit number 10, we subpoenaed the records from the what do you call it, the auction,
Right.
and so they have no records of Rodriguez brothers cattle having been sold at all. It looks like Miss Modesta Salazar continued to sell cattle up until 2014, so they've always been sold under their individual names. And it just Mr. Simon has collected over almost $98,000 in selling cattle off the ranch since 2014. And we understand that there's a need to pay for stuff along the way. And so my proposal is I thought that I have two of my clients that are always working the ranch too. And I just kind of felt like if there's a need, we could get together and hopefully agree as to what the cattle need. There's like 45 bulls out there. 35. And that's part of the problem. They tear up the fence and
Okay.
so
Okay. All right. And how much would the lien be if there is any federal lien on this property?
over $1 million, Judge. And those are my exhibits, number 31 through 33. So,
But there would still be something to be admitted. I mean, to be divided among the heirs, wouldn't there be?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing is, there may be, we don't know what's going to happen with all that. I mean, we would like to see that lien be invalidated, but it's there. It has to be taken care of in this lawsuit somehow, probably, because it's going to tell everybody if there's anything left, or if there's anything owed. And so, but yeah, it's over like $1 million, Judge. And everybody keeps, I'm sorry, I'm trying to be respectful here, but we have a lot of people who have, in this case, who want to talk about the ranch and the cattle, but we have this enormous issue with this lien stuff. And so I think that just in the interest of trying to keep track of what's going in and out of this ranch, because those liens do say that there's a security interest in personal property. Okay. But it would just make sense to not allow someone to just go out there and sell a bunch of cows and keep the money right now in light of all that.
Judge, I invited the USDA to come into this lawsuit. They didn't want to, they removed it. I never got a lien from them. I never got a statement from them showing they have an interest. The document that my colleagues, that I've approved for admission is a deed of trust. It's old. I believe that's been abandoned, and I don't think that has anything to do with this case. But assuming I'm wrong, just for the purposes of the academic argument, if they do have a lien, they're going to step in and try to enforce that lien when that time comes.
I'm not worried about the federal government. They can take care of themselves.
Exactly. And then the
and
second
I would
thing is,
Also
I-
expect it, go ahead.
the second thing is, I did not want to put in all the pictures because I thought the testimony was sufficient to give the picture. But now if my colleague is trying to say that it's not happening and it's not there, I would ask to admit plaintiffs 21 through 37, which are
No, we're not
basically.
going to go. We've got to be able to explain all that. We admit there's 9 cows that died since, but we had a freeze, and we've been talking about this overpopulation problem. Plus, when you have 35 bulls in the same place, Judge, there's going to be some problems. And that's why we keep saying
Those problems did not exist, Judge, when.
That's why we're in
the-
court.
But okay, I'm just trying to figure out, because again, I have a juvenile board.
Yeah.
Is this property anyone's homestead?
Well,
It's not registered as anybody's homestead to our knowledge. I've looked.
one of my clients, 2 of my clients live out there, and they're using it as a homestead. And whether they will have a continued right to be there, all depends on how this shakes out at the end of the day.
Right.
At the end, yeah.
That's why, Judge, we've had alternatively 2 pleadings. Number 1, the succession by inheritance, and then the adverse possession claims, basically the statutory claims. I think we should be entitled to continue with both issues to the jury, but for the purposes of our hearing today, my clients want to maintain the safety of the herd, and that has been the status quo before this lawsuit was filed. These problems were not existing. They were existing in 1989, that's the testimony, and there were a few cows on the ranch. And he built all the troughs and all the water and all the fences and all the.
No.
Okay, again, I'm gonna mute the witness. I don't need to get into the back and forth on this. Okay, what is obviously everyone is in agreement cattle need to be sold. Mr. Diaz, what is your proposal for what be done with the money?
Well, what they've always been doing with it, use it to fix the ranch. He's not going to take, and I told counsel that we'd be more than happy to provide him with the bank statements on a monthly basis. He's not buying Cadillacs and he's not buying Learjets. These folks have testified that they want to end up building a church there because that was the history and the legacy of the family. It's turned into this, but we're humans. But he is not intending to take money and run away with it. That's all.
All right, and Mr.
Okay.
Cano, you're asking to have it paid in the registry of the court?
Well, what I
Absolutely.
first proposed is to put my name on a joint account with them,
No,
and then
Okay, one at a time.
they didn't want to do that, and I said, well, let's just put it in the registry of the court. I don't know why in the world this guy thinks he can basically claim these cattle, which are disputed, sell at an enormous amount of money, and then just keep it in his account without any oversight while we're in the middle of litigation. I think that has to be preserved, either with us being on a mutual account or in the registry. And as I've said, Mr. Diaz and I came up with a pretty good agreement last time, but when it came to this one issue, everything fell apart. And the only issue that made this thing fall apart was they wanted to have the money, all of it. And I said, well, that's just not right, Judge. And it's just not fair under the circumstances. And so I kind of feel like that.
All right, how many cattle do you want to sell and who's going to select them?
Okay, come here. So.
And
what's
that's
the
for
total
both
amount of
sides. You
heads
need
out
to,
there?
About 30 to
No, how
35
much the
bulls.
total amount?
Oh, about 180 to 200 cattle.
Okay, there's about 180 cattle out there. Okay, Judge, there's 35 bulls. Okay, and so what we were gonna ask for is to sell all the bulls except one or two, okay? And that should fetch enough money to be put somewhere, so that.
okay, and
then-
Mr. Diaz, how many cattle does your client think they need to sell 140 or?
I would have to defer to him, Judge. He's the cattle expert, and I think he probably has already considered that, but I don't know the answer for you, Judge.
Yeah,
All right, Mr. Salazar, how many cattle are you asking to, or do you think that need to be sold right now this spring?
I think that, I need to sell all the bulls. They're too big.
Okay,
and we're talking about keeping one bull, Judge, so we seem to be on the same page with that.
right. And how many other, is that all you think should be sold or?
No, I think the older cattle should be sold too. The ones that don't produce no more.
Roughly, how many is that?
Roughly about maybe about 10 or 12. I don't know how to count it.
No problem there with us, Judge. I have George Rodriguez there. He's the one who's been out there too all the time, doing all the work.
Okay, and is that all
Judge-
that, is that all that needs to be sold right now, or there need to be more sold?
Yeah,
We have any more droughts? To feed them, it'll be kind of hard, but I can feed them, no problem on that.
well, with those proceeds, there should be plenty there to buy what's needed and for maintaining the herd until either further court order or until trial.
Well, how much money are you talking about with that number of cattle sold, Simon?
It depends only on the price. Sometimes we're very low. Sometimes it's normal price. So it all depends. It's a gamble.
Well,
My friend,
but you're talking about
friend,
40, almost 50 head of
friend-
cattle. You're talking 35 bulls and.
Okay, let Mr. Salazar, what, if you get a normal price, not super high, not super low, just a ballpark figure,
normal
what?
price would be about $1.50 to $1.80.
Okay.
And my friend, a couple of months ago, she took some cows and they gave them 10 cents a pound. That's Jaime Garza, his name. All depends. All
Okay.
depends on.
And do we have an agreement on what auction they should be sent to?
Yeah. They've all gone to the Pearsall auction. They're off the 35, Judge.
Okay, and is everybody happy with that?
We don't
Yeah.
have a problem with Pearsall, Judge.
Okay, and does Mr. Salazar have access to the pins or not? And the corrals and the
He's been
loading?
having, go ahead, sir, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's got access, Judge. There's no problem with that.
That's not what he testified to, Judge.
Yeah, he wasn't telling the truth, okay? But he
Yeah,
does.
Judge-
Oh, okay, let's not argue back and forth.
Yeah, but Judge, that's totally improper and I object to that comment.
And I'll sustain that objection. Okay,
He's not a
so
felon.
why don't we sell, what is it, 10 or 12? That'd be about 33 or 34 bulls. If you keep one or two. Now, is there going to be a big fight over which one you keep?
This is the problem. And I've been asking counsel, before all this litigation started, he was doing this. The kind of money you're talking about, what he just testified to, the only thing he can possibly do is try to buy more hay, maybe. So I don't think we should change anything and then have to get permission from him and he's got to get permission from his guys, because otherwise we might as well get a receivership. And I've seen it, Judge. They eat all the profits. I would like to have the process that's been in place where he sells the bulls, he takes them to Pearsall, we'll tell him what gets sold, we'll give him all the receipts. He puts the money in his account, we'll give him all the statements, he pays the bills and things for the ranch. We can put in the order, he can't spend it to buy Cadillacs. Personal, we're okay with that, but to impede the process that was going so smoothly before these guys got involved.
Okay, all right, so let's have the Be Nice order, and y'all need to really be thinking about, are you gonna have this property appraised? Are you gonna be able to agree as to how to partition it? Just be thinking about that.
Sure.
And let's sell that number of animals. I'll let each side pick whatever bull they think should be kept. And if it's the same one, great. If not, then each side can pick a bull, sell the rest of them, sell the 10 or 12 older cattle. We'll just put $12,000 in a ranch account. If we need to open a new ranch account, put $12,000 in there, and just say to Mr. Salazar, but he's conveyed everything to Esmeralda, so he's not even an owner right now, is his contention?
Yeah,
Well,
he has no interest.
Well, the purpose of the transfer was in case he passes away. I mean, she can transfer it back if that's a problem. His ownership interest is still viable because he hasn't conveyed any livestock or anything like that. So what his interest is
Okay.
to preserve the property so that if he passes away, that it maintains the ability to build the church. I'm not making this up. This is what their hearts are saying, Judge. But I can tell you that I have not seen one indicia of malintent or evilness from either of these two folks. I just don't believe that they need to be hamstrung in terms of being able to move the.
They don't own the property, Judge. He's been stealing cattle for years and putting it in his name.
He's not the felon
seriously-
counsel.
Okay,
and
okay,
I'm
both of
asking
you.
him to stop doing that,
I'm
Judge.
muting both of you. Okay. What I'm going to do, I've muted both of you gentlemen, okay? I'm going to order that those animals sold, and I'm going to order that there be a new ranch account opened and put $12,000 in there. The rest of it will go into Mr. Diaz's escrow account, and it'll stay there until further order of the court. And I'll also let Mr. Salazar know that I know he's claiming that the increase in the cattle are all his. I don't know how that's going to work out, but that we're only allowed to make normal ranch expenditures. Okay, so cattle, the vet, normal things like that, not including paying the taxes. We can pay the taxes separately if they need to be paid. And you've got to turn the statements over every month. Actually, we'll just set it up so that duplicate statements are sent to Mr. Cano or his office or whoever he designates every month. Because y'all are going to have to split I'm expecting you're not going to be able to come to an agreement on a partition in kind, and it's going to have to be sold. And maybe sometimes people are so heartbroken at the idea of being sold, they can get over their differences and figure out a way to partition it in kind or share it. And I think I'd already said that no interference with the water going to the cattle, and that doesn't mean you can take the water hose on the rural water and start trying to irrigate the pasture with it, but just for providing drinking water for the cattle. And if they need to be, more cattle need to be sold if it doesn't rain or something, hopefully y'all can agree to it. If you can enter in an agreement, that's great. Just make a Rule 11 agreement on what's going to happen if you cannot, and set this for hearing again. I'll ask both the attorneys to unmute.
That's a pretty handy thing, Judge.
Mr. Diaz, you're still muted.
I'm sorry, Judge.
There you go. Okay.
My client has already opened an account for this purpose, and we were in the process of doing this after the last hearing. And then when I was drafting the order, that's when council started changing, the thing. So that account, would it be with your permission okay to use that account?
As long as there's duplicate statements being sent to Mr. Cano or his designee.
Then the second issue is, I don't feel comfortable giving statements from my trust account, Judge. So would it be sufficient to just provide the information showing what transfers
No.
were made?
No, what I mean on, if it sells for more than $12,000, the cattle, that goes in your trust account and it just stays there.
Right, and it'll show what he transferred, but I don't have to show my statements, right?
No, because
Okay.
nothing's going to transfer out without an order from the judge.
Right. And then the question about the lockouts, Judge, we have to have something to address
He
their
has the
locking.
key. He has the key. He goes in and out whenever he
Judge,
wants.
Judge, we have to have something
Okay.
that prevents from the
Is there
threats.
an area around however long it's been there? Is there some distinct area around a residence? Or around a trailer or a mobile home or?
There's two entrances, Judge, and they both have, everybody's got their own lock, so, and a key to get in and out. So I don't know what Mr. Diaz is talking about. He's been able to get in and out of this since our last hearing.
That's not what he just said, Judge. I mean,
Okay. All right. So are you asking Mr. Cano to have some little area set aside around whatever property more of your clients are using as a residence? But by that, I mean, I'm not saying, what I don't want, what I'm trying to cut off is that we're back here in June and you're saying that you've got clients who live on the property and that the other side is, driving down the right of way or the little dirt road and stopping in front of their house and leaving their car stereo cranked up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
You know what, Judge? I don't think that I have two clients each in a residence, and I think we're okay with just no interference or disturbing the peace of their use of their personal residences. But I honestly, Judge, that's fine, Judge. But as far as there's been no lockout, Mr. Salazar.
Okay, and I don't want to get into whether there has been one or not. It's just everybody gets to put their own lock on there.
Yeah.
And nobody removes somebody else's lock.
Judge, my client had his hand up. I think he wanted to ask something with your permission. I don't know.
Yes, Mr. Salazar.
But the water well is locked up and the corral is locked up.
Okay.
I know.
You have access to the water just for the cattle troughs. You have access to the corral to load and unload cattle.
I have to fix the corral because
Okay.
I need to put some boards in there.
All right, sir, whatever it needs.
Judge, one other thing is that Mr. Salazar testified that he's been selling cattle and he's had a ranch account. I don't know if there's any money left in it, but we'd like that preserved until final trial. I mean, he's already got $12,000 he's going to be being able to use, but if there's any, if these exhibits show the exorbitant amount of money he's received for the sale of these disputed cattle. So if there's any of that money left, we'd like that maintained.
What is the exorbitant amount he's talking about?
Okay.
Over what period of time? I mean, the guy's not making.
Okay, I'm not going to get into that. Both of y'all.
I just
Not at this stage. You can do discovery if you have claims against each other for alleging that there's been, I guess, people taking more than their fair share of something. We can get into that later. And I also don't know how you're going to account for all of Mr. Salazar's labor, if that's just free or if he gets labor, if he gets mileage.
All right, Judge. Well, he's been paid before and there's other people who have helped. So, but yeah, of course, I understand, Judge.
All right. And
Thank you for
again,
your
is this
patience,
something that you think that your clients will be able to agree to, or do you need to be thinking about getting, even though if we don't have the numbers yet, because I don't know what a right to a defunct corporation's assets are for a stockholder, but do you think that you're going to need to have appraisers appointed eventually, or?
Well, Judge, first of all, I don't know, Judge. It would seem to me, there's some of the family that wants this ranch intact. On the other hand, that may be impractical because of if indeed we find that the shareholders' interest has turned into a real property interest. And it would seem to me that if the property is sold and there's any net proceeds, that be divided between the families, and it would be up to the families to really do whatever probate work is necessary to acquire that interest. In other words, it would be the interest of the 13 or 12 as you have it, and then and that money would probably be put in the court registry, Judge, and then it would be the heirs of whoever would have to show that they have a right to those proceeds. But that's one solution. Partitioning it in kind at the end of the day, I think might be difficult, especially with these liens. But that might work too. There's 523 acres. So. But then that's where the appraisal stuff comes in, Judge. But yeah, we probably need an appraisal no matter what, so to figure out what we're dealing with, Judge. Whether it's because under either situation, whether there's a partition in kind or a sale, it just seems to me that a partition would be necessary in the long run.
Okay. All right, well, I hope y'all can get that worked out. Do you need an entry date for this?
Yes, we need a at least, I would say 2 weeks to get this entered. Because I know it's going to turn into another issue from my experience with council.
All right, well, I hope it doesn't turn into anything, but
I hope so too.
Can we
Okay,
just
so-
say before the 27th, Judge, because that's a Thursday before the Memorial Day weekend, and I'm out all next week and half of the following week.
That's fine, Judge. The last time I drafted all these documents and.
okay, again, let's not replow why it didn't work last time.
No, but what I'm saying is, I think, I don't know if you want me to draft him or do you want him to draft them, Judge?
I don't, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, you're the plaintiff's attorney, but it doesn't matter to me who does it.
So then I will take that task on again with your permission, Judge.
Yes, sir. And-
Also, Judge, on housekeeping and timekeeping, can we get a jury trial setting? This gentleman wants a jury trial.
Okay, you need to discuss that with the court coordinator's office.
Okay. All right. And then in the context of this order, the last judge had asked us to mediate, and then that never took place. Do you want us to do something like that, Judge? Or
I think go ahead, Mr. Cano.
Yeah, here's the deal, Judge, is that here's the problem with the mediation. I only have 8 people here, and there's like tons of other family members. And so I don't know what the court's supposed to do in a situation where, as Mr. Diaz has done, is suit all the heirs. And I don't know if they're not answering, if there's non-answering heirs, whether an ad litem needs to be appointed, for these for the heirs. I'm not really sure. That would be the only way a mediation could work. I don't know if a mediation with 30, 40 people is really workable.
okay. We are asking for an ad litem, Judge. We haven't gone to the court with that because I was hoping counsel and I could agree on that, but.
Okay, well, that sounds appropriate to me. The other thing I would suggest, first of all, is let the attorneys do research if they need to, because again, I don't know. An interest, if I had to guess offhand, it would be an interest in the assets of a defunct corporation owned by a shareholder as an equitable interest. And I don't know if that would be treated as a personal interest, a real property interest, if it would depend on the nature of the property. So with the cows would be a personal interest and the real estate would be a real property interest. I don't know what the answer to that is. If I would suggest that y'all need to either do research so we can get that figured out, or just agree, hey, we're just all going to treat it as X. And if everybody's on the same page, they'll be treated as X. Then decide what the what percentage is owned by each person. And I posted in chat just a little chart I made while I was going through this earlier. It doesn't show the heirs of anyone who has passed away, but it shows my calculations that Modesta Rodriguez had 25% interest, and the heirs of Gregorio, Domingo, Juan, Maria Asuncion, Manuel, Maria Refugio, Felipe, and Ruperto Modesto all have 8.33%, and Manuela, Jose Maria's, and Anita's heirs are not part of this unless because it was, and I don't know when these deeds took place, if they took place after the corporation charter was forfeited. And I think you only have so many years to get it reinstated. I don't know if it matters if it happens during that time.
Yes, sir.
That's just what I looked at. So I would suggest perhaps you want to see, try and either, I don't think you're gonna be able to come to an agreement that says how you're gonna split this up until you know who has what share.
Yeah,
It looks
Right,
pretty,
that's
it looks pretty, with Jose, if he gave his interest in the shares in the corporation back, that looks pretty clear cut, but with the other two, I don't know. And again, I think Mr. Cano brought up that conveying the real estate doesn't necessarily convey the interest in the cattle.
Yeah.
Sounds like a law school tracing problem.
Well, it's certainly a law school test case, that's for sure. All right, Judge.
Okay, all right. Well, that gives me just a few minutes to get a drink of water before my 1 o'clock meeting starts. But anything else we need to take up right now?
Judge, I want to
no,
thank
yeah.
you for your patience, and I want to apologize that I got a little upset at council. That's not normally the way I.
All right, well, that's fine. And I hope y'all get this worked out. My same brother-in-law's family had another piece of property. It was a house with about an acre, something like that, on the side of the road. And everybody died and went down through a couple of generations, and there's a whole bunch of kids, and nobody took care of it, and nobody paid the taxes, but nobody would come to an agreement to do anything. And one day when the neighboring ranch was building a new fence, they just put their fence straight down the highway and fenced it off. And these folks went and cried to the sheriff and the rangers and the county attorney and the district attorney and God knows who all. And they could have won the lawsuit if they'd filed it then, but they would never get together and take care of it. And it was too small an interest to make it worth any person's while. So I hope y'all can get this split up while it's still worth doing.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your comments, Judge.
All right, good
Wisdom.
luck.
Thanks,
God bless
Judge.
you.
See you later.
God
Bye-bye.
bless you.